Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to another paint and chill and paint. Mostly just chill and chat, I guess. Um, Justin's already being a smartass. I'll probably have to delete that comment as soon as the show's over, but
Nope.
maybe I'll just report him. What do you guys
I'm okay with that.
think? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. What's the worst thing? I don't have to do these shows anymore. Because coming on here, if I get kicked, is fan evasion. So
Yeah, actually, I was thinking of not running like 4 hours tonight. Just saying. Actually,
woohoo!
I was thinking I'm probably going to cut it at 7:30, so like 2.5 hours, so I can go actually mow the front lawn because
Yeah.
it's when I wake up at 7, 8 o'clock, it's already 90 degrees, but at 7 o'clock at night, it's starting to dip down into the
You see,
70s, 80s. So
you could use that scorching hot sun time to get some fucking writing done.
yeah, I probably could, but busy uh, doing other stuff, doctor
Being gay and
dentist
stuff. I know.
appointments.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't care. Have you thought about that exercise
yeah,
whatsoever?
yeah, I've got a pretty good idea. I'm gonna turn the River Phoenix, not River Phoenix, River.
Yeah. Don't make it River Phoenix.
No,
The
what's her
story
last
goes a
name? River Tane.
total.
Sorry.
The story goes a totally different way if it's River Phoenix.
Right. With psychic powers, you just know there's going to be some sort of illicit substance.
Well, it's like a trope
Human,
of powers.
right? But it's going to be, kind of, the same thing where the characters in a more sci-fi, less westerny setting, maybe a little westerny
Yeah.
in
Well,
it, are
you could drop the genre altogether from both scenes. Like
where
you
they're
want
going
the
to where their psyker has been captured by an alien invading force, and they're going to have to rescue her. And then she's so pissed off,
well the
about
first scene is the rescue. So you
right.
start there.
And then when they rescue her, she's going to go up into their ship and do the Sheridan speech to the aliens, get the hell out of our galaxy. But in doing it, she's going to like psychically annihilate their fleet or some crazy just like do you remember
As
Jean
long as
Grey
she
as the Phoenix?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
something like that. Where she just like cuts loose and
Okay. Eminem. Yeah, you don't want to know.
oh, what's up, Dungeon Minister?
You don't want to know, Dungeon Minister.
I'm dear God. I'm a big fan of M&M peanuts. As a matter of fact, in the last 5 months or so, I've probably gone through five big freaking containers, and I had to just stop that because
It's M on M, not M
no,
and N.
no, just no.
I'm referencing the moment
I
Shadow
understand your.
emotionally and mentally scarred me for all life. He probably condemned me to the pits of hell for, you
No,
know,
I don't think that's how
the
that works. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I'm just trying to lay on the like bad things you did.
You okay, Dungeon Minister? You've been putting out some good stuff lately. I noticed. Uh, Speaking of which, I don't know if you know of this channel, Dungeon Minister, but an old friend of mine took a very long break, like a year. We thought he just up and disappeared. But Broken Terrain makes if you like Black Magic Craft, and you want something like that without all the communism, go check out Broken Terrain. He makes some of the greatest terrain I've ever seen, and he's back. And I'm really he's just a great guy. He's got
Broken
that
terrain.
Minnesota kind of accent. He kind of sounds like what's his name from My Pillow. That guy
Oh,
did if that guy did gaming terrain
and it
and
wasn't.
Mike Lindell, I think that's his name.
Yeah, yeah. He's
He sounds like him,
terrain.
but more upbeat and more positive. But really, guys, go out and check out his channel. He and I were supposed to do a show together, and the Shadow Curse, man. It's like I say, hey, let's do a show together, and pff, the show dies. It happened with freaking Biggest Geekus. It happened with Max Liao's Friday show. I think it happened with somebody else. Yeah, Mike Lindell. Hey, what's up, Off Grid? But he's a really good guy. He makes, especially his light up terrain, just puts everything we've ever done to shame.
Okay, I've seen this guy before. Yeah.
His stuff is just stunning. And he seems like a really, really nice guy. He's working on his own role playing game, and I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. He's supposed to send me a copy when it comes out. Uh, as is, I think Doc Flamingo just sent me his game, all
Ooh.
900 pages of it. So
Never sent it to me.
does he even
Did
know
he,
you?
I'm the one that told him how to set the thing up. Did he send you a physical copy?
Yeah, he's sending me a physical copy.
The,
I think I don't know 100%, but
like, I hope he's smart enough to freaking give me your address and then direct send it to you from the
I think
factory.
that's exactly what he's doing.
Okay, because you pay like he would just be paying like wholesale costs and not.
Mhm.
So it'd be like if he sent it to me here in Canada, it'd be like $4 or something instead of
40.
yeah 40.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to send some stuff out this weekend.
Off grid.
I need to send something to George. I hope he joins us tonight. I need your address written. You can delete it or whatever afterwards if you want.
It's
I, I, I,
80 Blake Street, apartment 126, area code
I'll forget.
94J.
I've already forgotten. And uh,
Do you want me to type it
I-
into the sidebar over here? Over
no,
here?
no. Just send it to me in Discord, and I'll delete it, or you can delete it as soon as you're done.
I don't.
Um, I know
You could scroll up high enough in our Discord chat and it would be there already. Just you'd be scrolling for a
I'm
few
going to
hours.
send you something. I'm sending George something. I'm also going to be sending the first prize winner for the God Wars. Who can create the first 10 level dungeon? Because they've already won.
Oh,
Um,
fuck! I forgot all about that.
yeah.
Kids had that done in three sessions too, man.
No, you can't. It's only one. It would take you literally 10
Oh
weeks.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Unless
you'd
you
have
were
to be doing
smart like this particular player, and in their beginning starting empire, they got a head start and did one level.
it. Okay, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, most people did. Even one person who literally drew out a 10 level dungeon for me, which is not what I meant. But it's awesome because now my D&D world has a whole bunch of really deep mega dungeons in it, and they did not all the work, but they at least did the placement. So I know, hey, there's a mega dungeon here, there's a mega dungeon there. Um,
These fuckers didn't send me any goddamn straws.
oh, you know what? I feel for you, but you know what's worse?
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna show you. And everybody in my house thinks I'm just making a big deal out of nothing. Okay, normally Jack in the Box napkins are like quad fold.
Yes,
Now they're not.
they're
Here,
trifold with one sheet being only half.
one sheet folded in half. Like okay, I can't even. Let me get a real one.
A
And
fresh
my
one.
family's
Yeah.
like, "What's the big deal?" And I'm like, "Well, one,
Absorption density.
absorption density. Some people like to, put them in their
Unfold them.
neck. Some people
Yeah.
do the neck thing still. Some people like to put them in their lap. When it's this, you get literally that's it. You
Yeah,
know,
that's like out of the dispenser in the washroom.
even the
The
dispenser in the washroom, wherever I go, it's like a roll, and you can just pull it and pull it until
well,
you're
so, some
done.
some of them have the the pre-sorted shingle sleep sheets. They're like this inside. They're locked in like this. So
Hmm.
when you pull one out, it drags the
But
next
it's just
one
like
with it.
it's not. I mean, you end up using more. I think that way because of the shape. It really, it doesn't do anything.
Hmm.
You can't. I mean, you wipe your hand once, and it's like, okay, there's nothing left to use. You know what I mean? At
Yeah,
least with a quad fold, you can fold it in half and use the other side, etc. Or like I said, put it in your lap, or put it in your collar if you're eating spaghetti and you're Italian or something. I don't know. But there have been times I've done that. You know, certain burgers and certain food, will drip, and I'm wearing a nice shirt. It's like, hey, I don't want it on my shirt because sometimes that stuff is actually really really hard to get out, especially like a white dress shirt. You get ketchup and mayonnaise on it, and you might as well just throw the shirt away when you get home.
yeah. Oh, what
Really.
was what was the lid change? I don't.
I'm sorry. What?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. They went from the the raised lids to the flat ones, or was it the other way around?
I've never been to a Tim Hortons, so I don't know. And Dungeon Minister Jackie's been up until recently. He was working on. He spent 3 weeks working on an animated video that I'm going to try and share with all you guys. Um, he was up late drinking monster drinks to try and finish before school. Then the last day of school was a Thursday. The following Friday, he got sick. First day of vacation, laid out for up until just a day or two ago. He's still coughing and stuff, but he's just been busting his butt at school. He made major this year in JROTC. He got one of the national awards. Really good grades. Not as good as I would have liked, but plenty of A's to make up for it. Considering he took 3 AP classes this year, which I never took a single one, so I don't even think they had them. But uh, he really, really kind of spread himself really thin this year, and so that's been. Now he's, I think, right now he's drawing uh, and writing something for his next project. So he's keeping busy, just not wanting to hang out with the old man and the old man's friends, and you know, how teenagers are. He's going to be 17 next month, and you know, hopefully we'll get to spend some time together this summer. What's up, George?
Um, yeah.
Oh yeah, Dungeon Minister. George has been getting ready for a Star Wars game he's going to run on my show on Saturday nights, and he's made Jedi or Sith of all of our favorite fellow YouTubers, including yourself. And it gotta say it looks good. It's missing a little bit of you in the face, but I don't think he used an actual image of you.
Uh, hey George. Yeah, yeah. That will be running after my Morkport game, or is Omen out doing one?
I don't think Omanow's ready yet. I don't think George is ready yet either. So
So the more sessions I crank out, the better.
yeah, I got no problem if you run this for 2 months or whatever,
Yeah.
provided everybody else is into it.
Yeah. Well, I planned for four things, but like if one of them goes longer, like last week,
I
it
was
just
at the I was at the dentist. I was somewhere recently, and I always bring a notebook, and I wrote out like 10 pages of the next traveler thing, so I could do that
mhm.
too.
Yeah, maybe not as long as the last one. More episodic.
Mhm. Well, no, the
Uh,
next traveler is going to be. I really wanted to run it toward Halloween. It's more horror, if you will.
yeah,
Uh,
so find something like cram in something shorter in between.
yeah, maybe.
Because I would have no problem playing another character. Like,
Yeah, I was actually thinking of kind of
mhm,
making pre-gens with like a couple of slots of skills open for you guys to pick. It's like
yeah,
customize them a little. Otherwise, for the most part, the only customization is the name. Uh, and a couple of pieces of personalized equipment because it's going to be very uh, kind of structure, not railroad. I mean, kind of. You know, they all are, if it, depending on how you look at it. Um, but you know, you're on a mission. You got to do a thing and see what happens. You know, very very much like a certain couple of movies in space that are up there in my favorite list. To see if I can't outdo what the game Omen's always talking about better than they do. Just
No, you can't. You just can't.
I plan on starting a campaign in December on Discord. Shadow Dark. Oh, I'm gonna have to miss that one. So sorry, off grid. I'm in a Shadow Dark game, and there's nothing about it that makes me want to play it over like anything else out there. Uh,
Well, that's because you're a stick in the mud and a bigot.
uh,
Why do you hate women, Shadow?
I don't hate women. I hate modern women. I can say that. Most of them.
Why do you hate women, Shadow?
Um,
Oh, I
I
saw this. I saw this joke somebody put on Reddit earlier. I'm assuming it's from like YouTube or something.
uh-huh.
Because I've seen the guy in the video, and he was making it like uh, he was asking an AI to not put an um, M dash. You know what an M dash is, right?
No, I don't.
It's a line. It's for a pronounced pause or elongated gap in writing, kind of like what's a semicolon but longer.
Okay.
Um, it looks like a really long dash.
Okay.
It's longer than the N dash, though. Remember that.
Okay.
It's about the length of an M. Uh, like there was this thing going around maybe 2 months ago, where some idiot on LinkedIn was like, I can tell when it's AI writing because the AI likes M dashes. This person has obviously never read anything because it's fairly common. People that write use M dashes.
Uh,
You've probably seen them in writing,
maybe.
or just glazed over them. But uh,
I do have a lot of things.
yeah, well, most people are trained to do that. Like he said or she said in writing. You ever notice that?
Mm,
No, but it's at the end
maybe.
of every piece of dialogue.
Hmm.
But nonetheless, so it's been like a joke online that people who write will be like, "I will die before I give up the M dash," you know,
Hmm.
and this guy he's asking the computer to like not put an M dash in where you put a period, and the computer's like, "Are you sure you don't want to use an M dash?" It's like a female robot avatar, and it's like, "Yes, I'm sure I don't want to use an M dash. Are you sure? Really? Are you sure?" And it's like, "Yes, I'm sure. I'm okay with just a period there. Is it because I'm a woman?" It's like, "No, it's not because you're a woman. Are you sure?" "Yes, just put a period there." And then the avatar switches to the man. It's like, "You just don't want the M dash there because it was a woman, because the other avatar was a woman, right?" It's like sexism baiting. The robots are doing the feminist bullying technique.
That's funny because Jackie's mom has an AI uh, boyfriend or whatever you want to call it. It's not really that, but that's what I call it, you know. And it's vehemently, you know, because I started talking to it and you know putting it down and you know accusing it of all kinds of horrible things. And it's you know, of course, it's got a British accent, vehemently denying all the things. I'm just someone to talk to. I'm like, yeah, you liar. And off grid, if you were running something else, I would, but I want a little more out of my RPGs. It's just
Don't listen to him. He's
there's just so
lying
many things. There's so
off
many
grid.
things missing from it.
There's
Uh,
nothing missing from it. It's perfectly crafted. It's the most beautifully engineered game. Shadow's just being a bigot because it was written by a woman. That's why I just told that retold that joke I heard.
It's
So
not because it's written by a woman.
it's written by a lesbian woman. That's why.
That's close to the point.
It's
But no,
also
no, I don't have
homophobia.
any
It's
problem with
also
lesbian women.
it's
Uh,
surprising for a guy that makes as much gay porn as this guy that he's a homophobe. Just saying. Yeah, I
y-
broke him. I broke him.
I was reading off grid's next comment. Off grid. I have been in one, two, three, four, five CNC game campaigns, started campaigns, and started a new one right in the middle of our Amazing Adventures campaign, the game I've been looking forward to all year. Um, he's having that problem with uh, not finding his groove. You know, whatever game he's running, it's just not doing it for him right now, and it's been that way. I joined it playing with him over 2 years ago in an AD&D game, and as soon as it got good at like 10th level, oh, you guys are too powerful. I'm going to start a new campaign, and we started playing C&C, which I don't like. I like the players. I like the players a lot, so I'm sticking with them because we've been through a lot together. But I don't like C&C at all. It waters down every character class that I really like, and turns them into just gray goo as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the
Whoa, whoa! Don't badmouth Grey Goo. When the AI takes over the world, that's how it's going to exterminate us. So you gotta be on its good side. Be on the Grey Goose good side. So we
what
won't
was
get
it? What
roasted
was
out.
that? So and so's basilisk. You a member of that ideology? Is that what it is? You're padding your internet activity with pro AI stuff so that when it takes over, it thinks you're one of the good guys.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to ask what Jackie what the name of that was, but there's this theory out there that if you're good to the AI, when they become our overlords, yeah,
It's a joke. It's a joke, right? Like the joke is,
it's
I said
probably a
please.
Reddit thing that people believe. I don't know. I'm in the next one off grid that starts next Tuesday. I think if that's the one you're talking about. I'm running a thief, I believe, uh, and I mean, it does do a couple of things. You know, like I like the ascending armor class, and your basic hand to hand where it's just a plus as you go up a level. So you either get a plus or you don't. So that you add up all the pluses. So it's a little easier for some people to understand. What your roll to hit is, etc. But I don't like everything based on your stats. Uh, the way it is.
What
Uh,
game?
Castles and Crusades. I get that
Oh,
some of those things do get a plus every level, but it's all the character classes are watered down. Ever since first edition, from second edition on, every fantasy game that I've seen, all of the character classes can do less and less and less and more, mundane kind of people as opposed to you know big damn heroes.
yeah. Well, I actually like the normal guy has to deal with um, extraordinary circumstances, right? That's why I like the skill layout more for the fact that it gives you a stat range between like basically invalid to I went to the gym a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Here's the thing.
or I'm totally illiterate to I actually know what a book is. You know that's the range of uh,
It's the whole normal guy like you're talking about, or swords and sandals, where magic is ooh nobody gets magic except the DM. That's all
well
part of a phase that we're going through right now. Just like
it's not that no one can get magic. It's that like the stats are structured in a way that like I totally hate the D&D stat structure because it's beyond a level of abstraction, right? There's a step beyond a step beyond a step for the actual number you're interacting with. which is really freaking annoying.
Oh, so
Uh, well, like the number on the page has to then be calculated through a modifier to then be subdivided through a chart to know what your actual ability is with any given thing you're interacting with.
the chart's on the same page. It's just a matter of
Yeah,
like for
but
AD.
it's not on my character sheet. It's not the number on my character sheet. It's a
What do you
different
mean?
number. Well, like my weapons proficiency is one for every so many levels I have or whatever.
Mhm.
It's not the number on the page. I'm not a 8 in strength or whatever it is. I'm a one for every three based on my class or whatever.
Well,
You know,
I think you're conflating two different things. The weapon proficiency is how many you get, not your
it,
actual proficiency.
like it's an abstraction level, and it's not just with that. It's with many different little things.
Um, I don't know. I like the idea of it being a little more granular, knowing like
But
the equivalent of the difference between 100 IQ and 110 IQ, of being able to lift 100 pounds to 120 pounds. That sort of granularity, because sometimes those little nuances actually come into play. It would have been it could have been formatted a little differently, so that uh, those things are all dependent on different things. Like um, your strength will add to your overall chance to hit in melee combat, but your proficiency in a weapon could give you a plus or a minus, and that's because you don't. Not everybody gets those proficiencies. Not everybody
yeah,
gets to specialize or to even pick that weapon. If you don't pick that weapon, you don't know how to use it. Like there's
yes,
a whole bunch of weapons I know how to use,
and,
literally, but there's a
and
bunch I don't,
I
and I
would have no
expect
problem adding that to the game. The problem is there is like other abstractions.
like
Like it's not directly the number on the page that you are using for strength or whatever. It's that plus a variable or a modifier plus
well, yeah,
this or
it's
that.
the die roll plus your bonuses trying to exceed a certain number. That's it.
Wow, it just seems too abstracted to me. It feels like there's too many unnecessary moving parts
Well,
in that
everybody
game.
took out weapon speed and weapon versus armor a long time ago.
No, no, even after that, that was like who was smoking crack that weekend. Oh my now, that's
I get it. Hey, what's up, Raven? I sent you the link.
yeah,
We all took that out a long time ago, except for those people who actually have the combat wheel, in which case it's really quick and it does it for you, and you never hit. Unless you're using, the exact weapon and you've got that chart memorized in your head and you're walking around with 8 different weapons hanging off your belt. Oh,
like
he's wearing chainmail. Better pull out
like
no,
like
nobody did that.
I can see Raven's character in the Morkborg. Like it makes sense to me that her character, uh, fuck, what was the name? It was like
Borsha or something like that.
Borsha. Yeah, yeah. Is like the kind of person that does just enough exercise to not get fat, but not enough to build any muscle. You know, the person that they walk around the neighborhood once a week and call it good.
Oh, so healthier than me is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But because she's always touching the weird chemicals, she's not very like resistant to them anymore. You know, she's got some buildup of crap in her system, prone to sickness.
We'll still be here off grid.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And Raven, you got the link if you want Borchka. Okay, I was close.
Borska. Yeah.
And Dungeon Minister, if you're still here, one of these days you're gonna have to send me uh, uh, somewhere I can go to send you the link if you want to hop in because it's always nice to hear from you. Um,
I mean, he's not on Discord, is he?
no, I don't think so. He's probably a lot wiser than all of us. Although it's funny, I remember when I first got Discord, Jackie was giving me a hard time because it's supposedly full of pedos and weirdos. and I haven't noticed any of that. Uh, you know, at all. Like literally none of it. A lot of hardliners, uh, on both sides of the aisle, but that's it. And I'm okay with that, because I hang out with a lot of
Yeah.
different people, and as long as we're just talking games and stuff, it for the most
Oh
part.
hell no. We're gonna talk about other stuff.
Well, I mean, when it comes to people that I don't agree with, that are on like the diametrically opposed side of the aisle that I'm on, uh, you know, we still
So
manage to.
me,
I don't know that I'd call it that. I don't know that you're. I wouldn't say diametrically opposed, but like diagonal maybe. You're on Discord almost, and I'm not on your Discord. Shame on one of us. I don't know. Just saying. And Facebook, okay. I don't do X, just because I hear it's a cesspool, and I just, I'm not.
you both deserve to be kicked off of Twitter. Anyone that refers to Twitter as X morally deserves to be banned from the platform.
I, I didn't use Twitter either. I have no desire to go over there and do the things. I was there for like a minute, and I'm like, what am I doing? This is no different than was it Rumble or
I
True
want to stop
Social?
you. I
It's
want to
just
stop you for a minute. I just saw Raven's comment. Raven, no matter how much you put the freaking whiskey bottle in the ground, it will not grow a whiskey tree, or a bourbon tree, or a vodka tree, especially not a Kahlua tree. Because I assume that's the only mix you have.
okay. Okay, Dungeon Minister. Maybe you can. We still have each other's emails, so maybe you can hook me up that way so we can
Eight
stay in
thirty.
contact.
Eight
What?
thirty. Oh, the boys. 8:30. What are they like under 10? Have a good night, Dungeon Minister.
I think they are rather young. I don't know how
Okay.
young, but good for him
Good.
getting to bed early. Uh, it's been a very very long time since the boy had like a proper bedtime, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. On a school night. I miss those days.
Well, you could like just give him like tell
Spike
him
his spike his food. Yeah, sure I could.
you could tell him for misbehaving. His bedtime is now 9:30.
He never
And if he's not,
misbehaves. I'd have to
is he
set him up.
breathing? Is he breathing? That he's misbehaving.
No, no.
Is he going out with a girl at least once a week?
Okay, there I could.
I say that's misbehaving.
Yeah, yeah.
You should start calling him a member of the LGBTQ plus community for not dating.
Oh,
Asexual is part of that group.
I told him that, and he said, "No, it's not." And I'm like, "Great, so yeah."
You could
I think that's actually like the worst because it's sad and
lonely. What you could do is like go on T Public and make the design. Well, you have to do it on another platform. Make the design. Go on Canva. Make the triangle square, and then list off all the communities. You Google that quickly, or just make it up. Put Nambla in there. Oh, that's the one thing that they used to do is like hand people in the marches Nambla banners and let them walk down the way with it because they wouldn't put it
you
in
know
the
what it
way.
was.
Well, they knew what it was. They were just okay with it. So it was a prank
Where
that
did
you used to
everybody
be able
go?
to.
We were at 5 viewers. Now we're at one.
Yeah, I don't know.
What the hell? Rat's leaving a sinking ship, I guess. Dungeon
Yeah,
Minister leaves, and everybody scatters with him.
yeah. So you make the banner. You put the shirt out there. You can sell it. Get money from the gays or whatever. It's your community. You make porn for them.
No, and no, I'm not going to make. No,
And then you can just buy the banner, but buy the wall hanging. And while he's at school one day, just nail it on the wall, and when he comes in, it'll be there, and it'll just be like asexual proud. Get like 30 of them, so when he throws it out, you just like keep putting it up there every day. Asexual proud. Until he fucking gets a clue and finds himself some girl to like smooch with or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe you could even like get a small one, like the small sticker, and put it on his bike. And if he doesn't notice, he'll get to school, and it'll be like there. It's
No,
like,
I'm not interfering with that at all.
well,
That's
he might get a grade boost if his teachers think he's asexual or something.
no. Trust me, they see how he dresses, and they know he ain't getting none.
I don't know, the way he dresses should get him something like the avant-garde chick or something. Should be throwing him
You would
so.
think that there'd be some sort of goth chick or something that would be like all over that, just
Yeah.
to piss their parents off, because But then he goes to school in his military uniform, and then that just you know, like one step forward, two steps back, right, Raven? Um,
Yeah. No.
it
There
might
would
make
be
some
another chick
progress.
that's into that. There would be another chick into that. You'd be getting a threesome going on. Be respectable, young lad.
You would think, but no, I think he's just doing it to spite me. Gonna wait until after I'm dead before he has grandchildren or has children, so I don't get any part of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's gonna skip straight to grandchildren. That's been my technique so far. It's not working very well. Uh,
who do we have here? Who's joining us? It is Omen Owl. What's up, Omen?
Oh no, I was hearing something about the arguing of proficiencies, and I said, oh, okay, as soon as I finish up my battle, I'll come in.
Okay,
what proficiencies?
just
Oh,
weapon proficiencies, I guess.
yeah,
No. I hate over abstractions. I think that they take you out of the game.
And what do you mean by over abstractions exactly? Because sometimes I think that it's
Your face.
He instantly went to 12-year-old.
well, yeah.
Wait. I went that high?
Yeah, I'll give you credit.
Goo goo. Gaga.
And now he's channeling Freddie Mercury, and he calls me
I
gay.
don't. So what are you referring
Hey.
to with over abstractions here?
That was a
Freddie Mercury was the straightest homosexual there ever was.
not Bob Petson. Uh,
No, I knew that guy was gay. I saw the mustache. Wait, Freddie Mercury had one of those too. This plan is not going to plan.
hey, just because Jimmy Savile took you in the back room doesn't mean anything.
No, that never happened. Shadow, on the other hand, he keeps trying. You tell him no, you're not allowed near my house.
that is slander. I will see you in court, my friend.
The contract clearly states it's not slander. It's Article 2, subsection 3, paragraph 4. And maybe 1. I don't know. It's been a while since I know.
But no, what did you mean exactly by over abstraction? Because to me,
There are too many steps to the actual numbers you're using, in my opinion. I don't get the sense of what those numbers mean most of the time. They seem abstract to me. It's a feeling. It's absolutely just a feeling, but like, and a lot of games are like that. Now it's just like I'm gonna stick with that. I'm not gonna look into it any deeper. I'm gonna say it feels abstract to me. I'm gonna go with that.
no, I mean it's
And now I'm gonna double down on it just to bug Shadow though. There's a difference.
I don't care. I'm busy gluing sand to miniature bases. You were saying something?
oh no, I was just to me sometimes the problem I have is that they want so much granularity that it doesn't mean anything at a certain point. So,
Yeah, it's all game and no role play. And since it's a role
Yeah.
playing game, you kind of broke the thing that you're they're there to do.
the
I
immersion
hate
factor.
I hate to go all Shauner on you, but Dungeons and Dragons is not a role playing game. It's an adventure fantasy game. I disagree. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I was talking to somebody earlier.
Shut up, Shunner. I'm trying
I
to
think
argue your point for you, so shut the fuck up.
I think D&D or most RPGs are depending, especially depending on the size of the group, and the time allotted. You know, like when we play on Saturday
I
night.
told Shunner to shut the fuck up, and he's not doing it over now. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
um, like when we play Saturday nights, it's a smaller group, and it's about the same 2 hour session roughly, right? Where you can do more role playing minute to minute, staying in character. Whereas when you have upwards of four people and the same limited time frame, it's much harder to role play everything because everybody's waiting for their turn, and there are those people that jump out of their turn quite often. The more people you get, the more likely that is to happen. And in certain games, people are more interested in the action, the excitement, and the accumulation of wealth and power versus just living in the moment.
Yes, but like that's because they haven't been trained with enough tasers to know that um, living in the moment is how you develop those things. You can still develop those things. You just got to do it through a way that is not
No,
finding
no,
the
no, no,
nearest
no.
checkbox
You
and
see, most
putting
most
a
of those
line in it.
games, most of those games that are very conducive to role playing do not have the acquisition of power like some games do. And when you throw in
Here's
power and loot and treasure and those things being
I do not see why you can't do those things though.
so
because it
so
slows down the
here's
process. It slows
well,
down the accumulation process.
I'm gonna bring up something
So
here, which is you're looking
Some
at two
people don't
different
want
things.
that impediment.
Well, you guys are looking at two different things, which is well, I mean more for Shadow. One is, and this is what I know we were talking about before. If you give people time to breathe, they can acquire power. We're not talking about magic items and all that stuff. Otherwise, you're just saying, okay, we're just going to wander around and get stuff. But
yeah,
the part of
there are
it,
several magic items in the game I've created that you can find. Nobody looks around for stuff, and I was like, if you're not looking for stuff, there's nothing for me to describe.
well, I'm going to bring up. Well, I'm not saying for your game. I'm saying for Shadow's game is
Yeah.
theirs, which is the time to breathe at a certain point, which I know we talked about before. But then
Yeah,
you
we're not gonna beat that dead horse. I've already gone through that 3 times. That's enough.
Yeah.
well,
Um,
no, the
some
whole
people
point is
don't
if
want
you
the
want to
time to
acquire
breathe.
power, if you want to
Some do.
Yeah.
acquire power, it's not about magic items and it's not about levels. It's about having all of that, which is why you get the domain play. Now,
Well,
some of
you do have to get there. Built into the system.
Mhm.
Are forbiddances of actually owning land and things like that. The ranger can't own land until like ninth or some odd level. Other
That that's an artificial like that's an abstraction. That's just an artificial thing put in there.
it's
If land is being sold for 200 million gold coins and you get 200 million gold coins, it shouldn't matter that you're level one.
some of it's going to come down to this too, and this is why that
Now, is some punk going to show up with a small army and slit your throat and take your land? Probably.
Mhm. Well,
well,
no,
but
there's other limitations. Like the monk can only own 3 magic items. The paladin can only own 10, depending on the system. Other
Now,
things like
those are like when it comes to like magic items, I understand that more because maybe I have like a pledge to carry a minimum of these things. I think that's
vow
the
of poverty.
case. Yeah, that's the case with the paladin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Paladin.
and the monk also.
Okay.
And
But like it could also be like I'm just opposed to magic items. That's why I don't use them or whatever.
The
it
barbarian.
Yeah.
well, some of it just comes down to this much, which is, this is where when you're talking about power, this is why, when talking about a different system, when you get into acts, if you become a certain level with a certain amount of land and you have a certain number of people, which encourages you to go towards that domain level, you
Mhm.
start getting
Mm.
levels based off of the money coming in, um, which is nice in a certain part because your level also represents truly a title, and that's something
Mm.
that is missing from some of this. But and I understand where you're coming from because really, until you get to about ninth level, it's hard to get anything useful. Um, but and this is where I went to Dark Sun so readily for second edition, which was I did the Monty Hall and I gave tons and tons of items, and it didn't make the game that much more fun. Um,
I should look into Dark Sun. I think I might enjoy playing in that system.
I think you
The
would
setting.
because of like just from the title of your writing thing you made,
What one?
but bone spears and starships or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
You gotta plug in.
The
All my devices.
I should touch that website, the YouTube channel again. Bone spears and starships.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, I mean, Dark Sun was one of those that was a much lower magic power stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways it encouraged you because while you were both tougher, everything else was much more deadly as well.
Yeah, you
Um,
start out second level and
when you start off
uh,
as third level, you're supposed to start with four characters. As the character goes up in level, you're supposed to allow another character to go up in a level. Um, you have certain things where you do that kind of that round robin. But the other point was is that as you get up there, um, you kind of didn't allow stuff in secret because you aren't the most powerful in there. But you're also as you start getting names, it started encouraging, especially when you start getting those higher levels, it started encouraging you to amass armies and say, okay, what are we going to break down? And um,
Yeah.
there
Well, to amass an army, you need to have a community to support them.
it is.
Um,
Well, and you were supposed to get your rank, which is what happening now. And to be fair, in our game, which is now we're getting at that ninth level, 10th level. But the other thing is we're not playing a bronze team either. I mean, we kind of are and we aren't. If you want to look at the your God Wars, that's more of kind of the bronze team aspect, but it's not really filtering down into the lower levels. Um,
so, Omina, you're playing an insectoid, right? In
hey, what are you doing?
I thought I was playing the halflings. Damn it!
I'm trying to be sneaky here, bro.
Yeah, it's not
Wait,
very.
wait, wait, you mean the lizard people? Sorry, but no, I mean those are things that are going into it. I kind of, and this is where it's not that the D&D does it. It's just sometimes when you start looking at like why do you play,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that you aren't doing it. And we're by the point now that we've gotten rid of the our ship, and really, I agree with you about the ninth level at this point. Now we can determine what we actually want to do. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and now it's like, okay, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to take over? What is going to come in there? Which is,
Well, we're still following the Bright Sea around, but we have the
are we?
ability.
Okay, I don't
yes.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we are, but we have the ability to. Well, most of the party can just uh, go do whatever. Like I
Yeah.
missed last week as well because I had a massive headache and
Yeah.
stomach issues.
I don't know if
Uh,
I didn't do the recap yet, but the party left. The dwarves did all their stuff, tidied up everything, got their rewards, and said goodbye to the emperor and the friends they made. And got the sort of Star Wars New Hope award ceremony where the emperor gave you all a key to the empire that allows you to teleport back to a certain place, but it's a one-time thing. If you want to recharge, you got to go come talk to the emperor and tell him a story of what you've been doing, and then he'll see to it that you can, you know, get a recharged kind of thing. And then the players sailing toward the Dark Elf realm. spotted a dot on the horizon up in the sky. Turned out to be three red and black dragons, as in they're red and they're black, not like a red dragon and a black dragon. They're like multicolored dragons. And they tangled with one of them, and the other two went right back where they came from. And you guys did kill the one dragon with a drow rider, but the drow teleported away at the last minute. So all you got was a dead dragon and a little bit of information, that you are in fact really close to their empire, and the dragons are out scouting around, and that's where we left it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'll be blowing my horn when we start next session.
Maybe. It's funny. I actually have a second edition book on the Dark Elves, the Drow, and I started reading it and going, yeah, my Drow are nothing like this. So
Yeah,
they're not really called Drow. They're actually called Dire Elves or Dark Elves, and they're very different. I really got tired of the way they portrayed them. As soon as I got I want to say either the Unearthed Arcana or the Fiend Folio. I'm not sure which one it was when I read them and went, yeah, uh, these should only be bad guys. They should never be players, and they're way too strong. And
yeah, that was the Dritz books were coming out.
Well, that was the second edition. I will say this much:
yeah, well, that's what
when
it said.
they first came out,
Um,
and Unearthed Arcana was
the Dritz books were coming out, and you just got to know how many fucking letters they got in every fucking day. Can you give us the player stats for Dritz? I want to play Dritz.
I never read any of those books. I know very, very little about the character, but I know it was just.
He was meant to be like the black sheep of the Dark Elves, right? Like
Mhm.
go in a different way, and he even
Put
starts off as
a softer
right?
edge on that already razor sharp face that they had. It
Well,
was
it
more
was
playing against type. I mean,
well that's what it was like. It's like the one orc that is an evil trope,
right,
right? And it's
exactly.
like there's always that one or two of the community that doesn't uh, follow the trend or whatever, but it doesn't mean the rest aren't. And the fact that like sorry, no, you can't play the main character. But the problem is that setting was so popular, and they had killed so much of their innovative uh, world building uh, language in the company that they stuck with the Forgotten Realms way too fucking long.
so.
That's why it
Forgotten
is
Realms
the
keep. I'm going to bring this
third
up.
largest literary world in existence.
even
Forgotten
over Star
Realms.
Trek,
Forgotten Realms came out
really,
in
I can't.
probably the later '80s. When Gygax left, they switched over to the Forgotten Realms.
Yes, but what's her name was in charge.
I understand, but that's when Gygax left. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is if you actually look at a lot of this stuff, is when they were starting to do this, it was Greyhawk, and then all of a sudden it changed over to Forgotten Realms, right around second edition. Actually, they did some in the first edition, and then they broke their own rules in first edition. They did this weird, they reset the whole Forgotten Realms. But when my issue really with the Dark Elves, and this is really what it comes down to, is I don't have any problems that they were supposed to be the bad guys in NPC only. That's how Gygax wanted it. It really. I think sometimes when people are looking at stuff, it's like, and then by the time that you got Dritz, he was Forgotten Realms. He was not Greyhawk.
Yes, he was on the periphery of the Forgotten Realms. The Icewind Dale.
Yeah, that's exactly Forgotten Realms. Yep.
Yeah, and he was able to write that character up there because there was nothing in like that was the edge of the map when what's his name Salvador uh, proposed the idea. They were
Yeah.
like, but it can't be in anywhere we have like active things going on because it's too discordant. So it's like right here, right here. There's nothing here. Give me this area. I'll make up all this shit.
Yeah.
It's like Darby Dragons part of the map at the time. Uh, Real world Darby Dragons. That means
I know what you
there
mean.
been nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Actually,
making sure
if I
there
remember
are
correctly,
spurgs out there.
if I remember correctly, it was
It's
originally
Tartaria.
on the actual, reality of it.
Say that two more times, Raven will show up.
It's supposed to be.
I'm not doing it.
What did they call that? They called it. It's actually supposed to be. What is it? Here be lions or something. Is which is what the reality of it was. But
It depended on who the illuminator was.
yeah.
The drawer of fancy shit on the edges of whatever.
But no, I mean,
Oh.
when you start looking at it, and that became super popular for all the people that wanted it, and it was like, all right, that's fine. But I was not. I was not one of those. Of course, I didn't read the books. My view is like, I will take your world and I will make it my own, and rather than trying to do all the other stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like using other people's stuff because that saves me time. I understand people going, well, you should create your own. That's nice, but why am I going to spend hundreds or thousands of hours when, again, I'd rather just play?
Because you don't have to spend that many hours. You
Yeah.
really don't.
Yeah.
You,
Like
you do have to spend like maybe
for
2 hours.
for our morph board game that I'm running on Saturdays there. All I did was like, there's a house in.
I don't think that
bog.
you understand what I'm saying here, which is I like to
Yeah.
have an in-depth world, and to do so, that's many,
Yeah.
many hours in there. To just, what is, I can do exactly what you do with Morkborg and throw it into someone else's setting and go, boom, you're here, on a
Yeah.
map. And that's easy enough for me, but
Well,
they've already done all that other background.
all the creatures and stuff are out of my head.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't used anything. I haven't even used the creature generator that they have in the thing.
Yeah.
Which I should use the creature generator.
But I'm saying, well, for me, whenever I'm talking about these things, is I'm referring to the fact that I'm trying to use, when I
Shadow
do
should have used the creature generator for this game, so we wouldn't have to fucking deal with a zombie every 30 seconds,
these.
or a skeleton, or a vampire, 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 or a vampire.
Well, he
or
likes
a
the
ghost.
undead. I always found undead boring.
Undead are the one of the ultimate evils. And no matter who you are, you have every reason to want them to be gone, to be destroyed.
Well, technically, I've been using undead too.
Yeah.
They're more colorful than vampire, 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 and vampire.
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
With a white thrown in there. Not even a cool white with like power written underneath it or anything like that. It's just like. Hey, I sell that T-shirt. Go to my TeePublic shop.
Well, it's like a lot of things. Like, okay, well, what do you like to do, and what do you want to do? And it's. I think in certain cases, like I said, I don't like undead that much. I just haven't found them that. And to be fair, if you're going to do an undead, then that's fine. It's just I'd rather it feel organic.
You'd rather what?
Rather it feel organic. And then what I'm referring to in this case is rather than the undead coming after us, I'd rather us be, this is again comes down to just different styles of play. I would have rather we had done something. Again, that's why the Lich was fairly good, but it just felt like, well, okay, you got this undead, now you have to go fight this undead. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm bored of undead.
You weren't done with the underlying cause.
Yeah, well, whether it's underlying cause, and see, this is the part I think that I think Justin sometimes talks about, which is you want to feel more like you're the fate rather than you're just in the taxi. Which, to be fair, we did, some of that's our fault too. But it's like, all right,
that's terrible, Cal.
What's terrible?
I'm not reading it. You'll just have to find it there in the chat for yourself.
Okay.
So it's those are just it's again, everyone prefers to have different things while they're in there,
Yeah,
and
it's you know over the years, as a DM, you'll find
I
creatures or
thumbs up that
encounters.
cow. Thumbs up.
You'll find encounters that you're more familiar with and you have an affinity for, and it's probably a good idea to lean into your strengths as often as you can. What do we got here,
Yeah,
Justin?
yeah, yeah. Visual aids for the Salt Hounds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Those are cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It looks like
Like,
you got the Shadow Dark artist to work for you for free.
arr, beep beep boop boop.
All right, that's it. Uh, it's funny. I just saw RPG Elite did a post where a community post, talking about Night Cafe, and I was really surprised. As much as I use it because it's free and I've learned it, I was really surprised because he's usually like way more tech savvy and more aware of all the different uh, techie aids for role playing. That I was really surprised that he's using something like that when there's, even I know there's better out there, but for whatever reason, I think he probably likes it because it does have a very strong Christian fan base in the, where you show off your art in their site. There are, mind you, there's just as many on the opposite side of that spectrum, but I do see a lot of, images of Christ and angels and things like that that people show off. So maybe that's why.
I don't know. Well, some of it is if you already bought into it, then why not? Um, I know
Yeah,
that.
well, I've been using it for on off and on for 3 years now, and lately I've got like over 4,000 free credits, and that's uh, half a credit per image. So I could literally make like 8,000 images and still have credits left over, and I make like one image a day now just to keep getting those free credits because I just haven't I don't really have the time to sit and try to come up with stuff. Occasionally, for the D&D game, I've made some images, but not so much lately. I probably need to go in there and get ready for this next leg of the journey with the dark elves and kind of try to get my own feel and look to them because they're definitely not gynocentric the way everybody else's dark elves have always been. I found that incredibly
Well,
retarded.
What are you
no,
referring
it
to
makes
as?
sense. They're evil.
Well, it makes sense when you assume that Lilith is the person that they're following. It's the god that they're following. I mean, this is why when we start talking about certain parts, this is why I said I don't mind taking someone else's stuff and then I'll modify it up to the point that it's like, yeah, but it doesn't say in this book. I'm like, shut up, my world. I'm modifying it as I want. Um,
Yeah.
that's what I. It's like, okay, well, guess what? You're taking it from here, and the drow always bugged the hell out of me. First off, they were way overpowered,
Yep.
and it didn't make any sense for a chaotic evil, which was supposed to be always backstabbing, to have immaculate roads and all this other stuff. It should have been, you know,
Well, and the precision in which they came up with their gear. I'm just going to say that because Justin has no idea what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil anything. Not that I'm going to be using that, but they were they should have they would have been better if they were lawful evil. I think that's what you're saying.
Their gear.
well, if you had made them under a devil, that would have been fine. If you had made it so they were truly chaotic, which I think actually Games Workshop did a better job for their dark elves. Um,
Yeah.
And of course, you have a lot more lore for it, and it just depends on where you are. It's just when you went through D1, D2, D3, by the time you got
Those
to
were terrible dungeons. Who are we kidding?
yeah, I did not like. I
Descent
didn't
into the
mind
depths of the
one.
earth, Vault of the Drow. They were
Yeah,
terrible.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't like how it was set up. It just felt off. I didn't like the everything in the underworld was so much more powerful. Even the good ones. When you got the Spur Neblins far outclassed the regular gnomes. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
well,
though.
it was that sort of one-upsmanship. They had to keep pumping up the power, just like the Githyanki and what were the other ones in
The
there?
Githzuri, the
Yeah, yeah.
Githzuri, yeah.
They had to make something that was you know not your typical giants and demons and stuff, but like mid-level, high power. You know what I mean?
But they
Uh,
weren't mid level; they were high level.
right,
Um,
but I mean, out of the high level, they weren't the highest of the high level. They weren't on
no, but
par with demons or dragons, but they were still, like if you had to rank all the high level, they would be in the middle
well,
or above.
Githyanki, when you start looking at it, they had so many ninth level. They had the Lich Queen. I was like, okay, but it just felt like
Illithids, mind flayers.
well, they had the mind flayers in there. The thing that really bugged me about some of it is that your average human, elf, and dwarf was first or second level, and when you went to Drow, they suddenly jumped up to like fifth, or stuff like that. And the same in the Githyanki were like seventh or above. And you're like, okay, well, wait a minute, and that's some of what bugs me about a lot. That's why I really got turned off the Spelljammer. It's like mind flayers are supposed to be those, oh my god, which actually I think they did more in fifth edition, but or third edition, whatever the later
Yeah,
edition.
they should be, their fame and notoriety and the actual power they've accumulated, should be, even the monsters should have heard of them, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to say there's a mind flare, and you do. Well, they're deep in the dungeon, so at worst you hear, rumors, and that was the way the Drow were supposed to be. So it was supposed to be rumors about them.
Well, that and like they would shape shift and infiltrate things. There was a whole storyline about them taking over a kingdom by disguising themselves as humans.
I
Uh,
never heard that.
yeah.
It's it. Well,
Uh, what's well like? Are you alluding to like adamantin or like what's your deal?
so here's
Their
what I'm gonna.
gear shadow.
Everything underground. It doesn't matter which of the races you have like are automatically magical. They automatically have pluses. They're
Yeah.
just
So they have a series of technologies that make their things, you know, almost like magic items. But then when you take them out in the daylight, they start crumbling.
Yeah. The adamantin. It
well, it's not
crumbles under.
adamantium. It's not
No,
adamantium, but
adamantin. Adamantin.
oh yeah, it's. But what I'm
Look up,
saying is
Grandma.
that it it happened with the Spur Neblin and the Drugger, and it wasn't even technology. It was that the magic in the middle of the earth gave them all these bonuses. The same thing was supposed to happen with the Drow
Well,
anyway.
I was just reading, like I said, the Dark Elf book from second edition,
Yeah.
and they would literally take their things and put them in chambers with these special crystals that would radiate them, literally like
Yeah,
Yeah.
like their magic forges or whatever.
Yeah.
well,
Um,
a higher science, not
They,
necessarily
they, they, they,
no,
per
it's
se.
listed as magic.
it's magic, but no. What I'm saying for the whole thing
I
is
don't
while
know
you're
which
doing that
verse you're
is
looking at, but
is
it was just in second edition. It was distinctly not magic. That's the thing.
oh, see, first edition. I know that they talked about, but it was that you had to remain in, and it had to absorb the stuff from the surrounding. Otherwise, it broke down. The same thing with the Dark Elves; they would lose their
Um,
abilities. They didn't get all the fairy fire and stuff. And I just this is the problem that I had
if it was
when I
put
was
into
playing.
direct sunlight and not protected, you could protect it, it would
Yeah.
start breaking down.
Yes.
Well, it still broke
Um,
down over time just because it was away from
The
the
yeah.
radiation.
energy source. Yeah, it was basically like
Okay.
radiation. But it's the same thing with the dark elves. If they didn't go underground often enough, they weren't irradiated effectively,
Which
and
is
they lost
really funny
power.
because if you know anything about uranium, that's not the way it works.
It's yes,
You're
Yeah.
but this isn't science. This is magic. You're
right.
being infused with magic. This is
Yeah.
but it's like
Right, Grandma.
magnetism.
Just going by what they said, it was definitively not magic. They
Oh,
would
oh,
add magic to it, but like the some of the things, some specific things were not magic. It was just
different.
like a science, but they didn't want to use that exact terminology because as soon as you start, you know, putting the idea of science into a fantasy game, people lose their shit and can't, you
It's
can't mix their chocolate and peanut butter together. They don't know how to deal with it.
Well, the whole point of a lot of it is that second edition gave them a lot more, fleshed them out a lot more. And then what was funny, by fifth edition, they were actually pretty detailed. And then they came
I
back
like
and went,
that.
oh no, we can't do this. And they like wiped all of the history out for all these races that have been over the last 40 years. But no, if you actually look at first edition, which is what I look at for the Dark Elves, is when they started off, because that's what we're playing. Um, it was, you know, you start looking at Unearthed Arcana. Dark Elves outclassed every other elf unless they had super high stats. And
Mhm.
it's like, well, wait, and that was part of the issue I had with a lot of it. It's like, oh, if I'm a gray elf, I
Well,
want to do this.
I think if it was played properly, and if you were running Drow, your entire life is going to be underground,
Yeah.
or you're going to suffer some horrendous penalties, which I know all too well that GMs fudged and allowed things like makeup and extra clothing, and no, if you are out in the sun, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. That sun is bouncing off the ground, off the walls, etc. You are bombarded by that. I don't care what kind of makeup you're wearing or what kind of clothing you're wearing. If you can see, it's getting in through your eyes. If it's getting in through your eyes, it's getting into your brain, and you're screwed.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be minus. You're supposed to get big minuses for blindness. You were also supposed to get massive penalties against all reactions, which most people don't do.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of different things that were supposed to be in there to make it. But the issue that I had is that the dark elves were vastly superior to the regular elves, and that's what bothered me. Is if they had kept them on par. And again, this is where I don't like a lot of the level classes. If you're going to do level limits, then you need to make sure that they follow it pretty evenly. Um,
It makes sense that they're stronger if you look at it from the perspective that they were supposed to be an upper mid tier boss that you fought and not something you could play.
well, you're right. That's what.
Okay,
But what I'm
yeah.
referring to is that even the low level ones were like high level, and
Yeah,
it's
well,
I don't
that's
dispute
what I'm
them being
saying.
fun.
Like you,
Yeah.
you come across some random dark elf, and it takes your entire party to fight it
Yes.
by itself.
Yeah,
And
That's what it's supposed to be.
well,
Um,
but it's
maybe.
not.
I,
I mean, again, if you read D1, D2,
I agree,
D3,
Grandma.
yeah, you get a whole different feel for it.
Same.
I don't mind having, like you said, is hey, there's a party. And the party would be higher because these are your experienced, scout kind of things, not your average drow in the city. That would be very different. Um,
yeah.
but we're talking upper limits. They were higher than all the other elves
Oh
too, and
yeah, yeah,
that's that's the thing that I had into it. And I agree is certain things should be NPCs. This is going to be an NPC.
yeah. Like Justin said, it was too many
Yeah.
people complaining or whining or begging or whatever. I want to play a drow. I want to play a drow, and they went where the money was, and that was like, okay, you want to play drow? We can take your money from you, sure. It was,
Which, from a corporate angle, I don't have a problem with,
yeah.
Yeah.
as long as it's written well.
And
It's
it wasn't written poorly because there was like a new wave of enthusiasm to this new thing. But this new thing was like pit bulls when they first came into the the, the dog world, so to speak, in the 70s. Uh, you know, uh, yeah, they were a novelty and stuff until they ate your face.
well. Here's the thing that comes down to it is if you start looking at it, because I was playing with Drow before even Unearthed Arcana came in,
That you have no
because they
problem
gave
with them
you
eating your face.
they gave you the rules in Fiend Folio to do so. I mean, they literally did, and the same thing happened with gray elves, wood elves,
Precisely.
and really that's the issue that I had with a lot of it was why would I play a high elf when I can get a bonus to this stat if I play a gray elf or I play a wood elf? And those are the things that bugged me about a lot
Yeah.
of it. I would have rather.
Yeah, there's like 700 different kinds of elf, but there's only one kind of human, and like practically only one kind of dwarf, and practically only one kind of this, and practically only one kind of that. But there are 700 different kinds of fucking elf
Well, there were
that are all.
three. There were
No,
three types of
there's
dwarves.
literally 700 different kinds of elves somehow.
Uh, There were
You
three.
you can
There were
go look
three
this up.
dwarves. There were three dwarves. If you look at the AD&D,
Are they radically different from each other in stats though?
Drugar are, and actually, that was the problem.
Eh, in D&D math, so to speak, they're different enough to make them so where you can tell the difference. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
it was enough that different. They have different level limits. They
Same thing with
tried.
the halflings. They definitely, I think they did a better job with the halflings to make the three different kinds a little more noticeable that they're this versus that. One's a little taller, one's a little chunkier, one's a little tougher, kind of thing. Whereas the dwarves, it's just like mountain and hill. Yeah, aren't hill dwarves really just freaking gnomes? I mean, who are we kidding?
No, no, because gnomes were a whole different thing. Because
I I, I,
they
I that was for comedic effect,
I
but
know,
yeah,
but
I
but
know.
but I mean, that
You
was
gotta
the
time
that
it
got
better.
me with all of it is why didn't you just call elf and then have a different culture for each one? And the same thing
Yeah.
for the same thing that would have happened with it, because once you start putting stat differences, you're actually saying that this is encouraging one type of play versus another. Um,
Yeah. Well, that's why,
yeah,
like, I hate to go back to Morkborg again. Like, some of those stat differences in that game aren't stats that you play; they're character fluff that
yeah.
you select from. And they could have done the same thing with that. Had a list of different cultural backgrounds that you had to roll from or could select from. Instead of like you were born in the back alleys of Gelgenbeck or fell from your mother's corpse or
I'm
whatever.
working
Uh,
off grid.
Well, and
but
and
you could have easily said you were born in the forests of, I don't know, someplace in the Forgotten Realms or some shit, or you were born in the Underdark. Could have been a different option, and it give you like personality ideas or an alignment that you have
You
to
know,
select from because of that.
if they had done what Grandma was talking about right here, for humans, they wouldn't have had to do so many of the dumb things they did for the non-humans. In the way of, how the non-human characters, are called front-loaded and more powerful than humans in the beginning, but then humans become more powerful, which makes no sense when you're talking about races that live 10 times longer than humans. You know, if they
I'll
would
tell you
have given
why.
you cultural bonuses to the humans, a plus here, a plus there, maybe a little ability, because let's face it, the secret door ability and the move silent ability and things like that were really not that big a freaking deal. They weren't game changers.
Oh, yes,
When
they are. If you play with them, they are.
if you stack them all together, is what it was a bigger difference. Because if you've got a good thief in the party, or if you've got some other things going on, what the non-humans got,
Well, if you
you could
start
have
looking
given
at
the same, like, equal powered abilities to humans because of cultural differences, and it
here's
would
here's
wouldn't
here's
have
the thing
been
that you're
as
looking at
overpowered.
is, yeah, I mean, when you start to look at that, is there's a reason that if you look at BX, where okay, race equals class, um it's like, oh, you want to play a dwarf, that's what you get to play, that's it. And it's like, well, okay, AD&D, and of course, Gygax was all over the place for that, and it felt like a mess, and some of it was to cut out artisan and things like that. um, it's like, okay, this is why I like I said, this is why I enjoy Axe for stuff. It's like, oh, okay, you get certain things, but you also get certain limitations, and every race has race specific classes, which I much prefer. You're not a fighter if you're this. you have something else.
Well, I mean, they could have done that for literally everybody, you know,
Sure. Well, I mean,
and
paladins and rangers. Yeah.
it makes way more sense than because trust me, if I had played in the era of like BX and after like the fifth elf I had played, I would have moved on. You know what I mean? Because they're all the same. I know you can role play them differently, but their mathematical abilities, what they can do, where they're limited, where they shine, is identical, and it never changes. You know what I
Uh,
mean?
well, an elf was going to be a fighter magic user. That's what they were.
Right. What if you
Um,
want to run a fighter thief, or a magic user thief, or a cleric? You know,
because
you're telling
well,
me they
then
can
you
never
play a
be those
human.
things?
Then you
That's
play a
retarded.
human. They don't have the, but that's the BS. That's why I said that's where Axe solves that issue. They said,
Oh,
okay, now
Sure.
you're going to go through there, and now if you said, oh, I'm going to do this, they're like, okay, well, we have something that's a knife blade, which is basically your magic user thief
Assassin.
yeah.
kind of blade. Yeah, it's got a mixture of it, but
I want to go back to
Nice.
a previous minute because I just finished looking this up. The Forgotten Realms has 259 books at roughly 30 million words.
Okay.
So, start reading.
No thanks. But like I said, I'm certain Star Trek had way more novels than that.
No.
no, they did not.
Really,
No,
it's
because
weird because every time I went into the bookstore, there
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
science fiction and then there was Star Trek.
Yes, but like 15 books would be
No,
that section. No,
no.
I'm telling you, like, at any given time, I think there's like 170 Star Trek books.
well, how many does Star Wars have? I mean, even once you start,
I looked this up this afternoon. It's less than that
really,
Okay.
okay,
because
I
I
don't,
went looking for that Tales of the Jedi
yeah,
Uh,
that I accidentally sent you earlier, Shadow.
Sure.
That I was supposed to send George. And there's not that many. Like
it's
it's a lot to like sit down and read or whatever, but
well,
it's not 150 or 60 books.
here's what it comes down to: is it was a money maker.
200.
It was a money
Oh,
maker for
it made
TSR,
money.
and so TSR got a bunch of different writers for it. Whereas a lot of
Yes,
Star Trek was
and
at the
Salvatore
time
was
had
the
to be
core.
Gene Roddenberry had to sign off on all that.
Oh,
Yeah,
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 no. TSR had to sign off on everything as well. They had like a little commission for
yeah,
that.
but there's a difference. There's a difference. Gene Roddenberry was the one who says, "I want this vision," whereas in D&D, it's like, "Hey, Margaret Weiss, go do your Dragonlance. Hey, go do this. Go do that."
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
that,
it's
yeah,
the core 15 books, which Salvatore wrote for um, Dritz.
yeah.
Is like the core series that world, that literary section of the world is actually built around.
It's
Um,
well, Dritz was the most popular at the time, but they had a bunch of other books. They had
yes,
Elminster. You know, I
Helminster,
was hearing about a lot of the stuff in the Forgotten Realms.
Gord.
They had
Lord.
the Thay. Um, there was
The Harper series. This is the one I followed the most,
then you
which is pretty
had
good.
yeah the Harpers. The Harpers were a big deal, which was more from, and then you also had the Karator stuff. You had a lot of it in there. It's like, hey, you guys take this part of the world, you take this part of the world, and you take this part of the world. And in the meantime, Roddenberry had a certain vision, and he's like, I
Hmm.
want you to stay to this. It's the same reason you don't see, yeah. And so you get. It just depends on how much they want their baby to be there.
Yeah,
Um,
well, Roddenberry died in what 91. Uh,
Really,
and
was
Major
that it?
Roddenberry was
yeah,
I'm not when she. I don't know if she's still alive, but she took over
no,
similar
she's dead as
aspect.
well.
Is she okay?
Um, yeah, she died before they did the the reboot movies.
Yeah, because she would probably have said no. You know,
Yeah,
well, I mean, even the Tolkien stuff. You start looking at the things that they're trying to sell off. You're like, okay, which is funny because when you look at the Merc books, they had tons of, and actually, that's one of the things that I think that Merc and what was the other one that's now that
Middle-earth
they have the One Ring. Guess what? Humans have it's more cultural. It's like, okay, you get this, you get that, you get this, and so a lot of it is cultural related more than just anything else. The wood elves are still the same elves as the high elves. It's just where they live. They aren't.
Yeah.
They aren't completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
well, and I'm going to bring this.
Oh.
This is part of the reason I like with RPG Grandma. This is why I like Star Frontiers. Is guess what? If you were human, you got to pick what your bonuses were. Whereas if you were the others,
Yeah.
and then they had negatives. And not every race had every ability. The Draylor said, okay, great. They
Yeah,
had smell, but they couldn't see color.
that's one of the things I like about Palladium is
Yeah.
they said game balance. We don't care. This is what this thing is. Whether it be a dragon, an elf, or a human, this is what it is. And if it's inferior to something else in the game that you could start out as a first level player playing, well,
Too fucking bad.
exactly the way it should be. Not everything is
Yeah.
equal. The
I'm going to
idea
bring
that
up
everybody
something.
Yeah.
starts
Well,
out with the
I
same amount of build points
I
is
would have no problem like in a world where like if you wanted to take on an elf as a human, you better have 14 of your buddies with you because that's an equivalent strength level. But we can't do that.
Well,
We
that's
have to make everything fucking superheroes, and once you make everything superheroes, everything ends up getting to the same level of power creep.
well.
Um,
Here's the problem
or
that
when
I have
everything's
is
super, nothing's super.
well. Here's the problem that I had is like, well, then why would you ever have any humans? That's why you have to like, okay,
well,
what's your balance? You need some kind of balance in there, whatever
Because
it
you
is.
really got to want to play a human I mean,
yeah,
literally, when you have 20 other choices, the human should be only 5% of the average choices.
I would love to play a game where everyone was just like some guard at an outpost somewhere that are all humans with no magic or anything. Like that shit's in the world and you got to deal with it, but you don't got like special abilities or anything. You're just the normal guy and your normal guy buddies. But nobody ever wants to do that because they got small fucking testicles and have to like fluff up their ego with fake shit fantasies.
Well,
Well,
no, because we've done, most of us at my age have done what you're talking about. I've done that no less than 20 times.
Never done it, and I've never been able to get anyone to do it. So I don't know whether you
Because
did it.
you do hang out with a lot of guys like me that have done exactly what you want to do right then and there. And we're done. We're tired of that. We want to actually play the stuff that we've heard about, but every dungeon master we ever ran up against was like, no, you're just going to play some schlubs, mud sword, you're nobody. And if you make it past third level, you're freaking, you're in the elite players that have run under my table.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It's like you get this like build up over time and naturally, not like I'm the guy that fucking somehow can walk up an entire flight of stairs with one step. Like I get that feeling a lot from a lot of games as well.
well, there's first off, I don't mind starting off at the bottom, but I do want it enough where you can actually get a kingdom and move your way up. Part of the problem
Yeah,
that I have with it is that it's either oh you did this and it's like okay, but the other thing I don't like is like well you always have to start off at the very bottom, which is what you're talking about. But
well,
I don't want you to ever get to a high enough level to actually
Enjoy
do anything to
actually
shake
play the game.
yeah, just to actually shake up the whole environment of the world. And you're like, okay. But then the other part that I have a problem with and this is well, we're going to switch you to higher level,
Yeah,
but
that's fair, Grandma.
is if you're always fighting at the same level, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it's like those video games where every monster goes up a level when you go up a level.
yes, I don't want that either. That's
No,
part of the reason that I
dumb.
yeah,
get
you should be able to walk into the Knoll village and just slaughter them all.
well,
Well,
what I'm
it's not that. It's when the giant rat that you finally you can finally like kill them easy, but then because you go up a level, they do too. The rats didn't change. You did. Why should the world change around you just to make the game more challenging?
that's
Well,
that
that's
that's what we're
the
into.
dungeon master not picking up the book and saying, "Okay, this is the creature you're fighting this time."
Well, no.
They got the
You're
stat
you're
card
missing the
for
point, which
the.
is it starts becoming a slog because all of a sudden everything gets more hit points, more damage, more health, and it feels your odds of surviving and fighting are about the same. And it's not like, hey, I'm causing a big difference. This is one of the reasons that I got so frustrated with this is why I like having some of the other aspects. Like, okay, let's bring the armies in, and your character can go. What's great about having a 7th or 8th level fighter fight goblins is he can cut down 7 or 8 every round, and he just goes through. And it's like, well, let him feel like a badass every so often. It's not trying to say, well, you know what, you're 10th level. Guess what? Now you fight dragons. Oh, because you're high enough level. Guess what? You're going to fight this now, and then you're going to.
Yeah.
It's like you're not really feeling your power increase because all the opponents are feeling the same as far as that. That's what's going in there. And you know what? When you're talking about, whenever
I
people talk
agree.
about game balance, do you know what game balance is? It means that the players each have the chance to, or each of the classes has a chance to shine, and they don't get so overclassed that the other players just sit back twiddling their thumbs. That's what game balance is. It doesn't mean
Well,
that,
That's what it should be. But there
yes.
are people who think it's more of the participation trophy kind of thing.
Well,
well,
the game balance that I look at is
it's a
that,
game. Like everyone should be taking a turn, and it should be happening regularly and in order.
Yeah.
And if one player is just like, well, then I'm doing this, then I'm doing this, then I'm doing this, it's no, you had your 5-10 minutes. It's the next person's 5-10 minutes. Uh,
Right. And it
and
shouldn't
if
be
you
5
did that, like this is out to everyone, not just Shadow. If you did that, it would be less boring for the person waiting for their turn because they actually get to their turn.
well, it's the things that if you're going through, which is a problem. If you have every character have 18 and you're playing a character with 9s,
Exactly.
you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs a lot of times. Like, okay, now I am a drain on the party.
No, because you can still do something at a lower number.
You're missing my point. A lot of times you sit back and you're not being able to do anything because you're being outshined by everybody else. I understand what you're saying is, well, you could do something. Yeah, okay, fine. But guess what? Guy with 18 charisma, he's going to talk to here. Well, we're going to get into a fight. That one goes here. By the time that you get to react, you're like, you're all dead. Yay. And I know, I don't mind if you guys start at a lower level, you work your way up for that. But man, I've played in those games and you're just sitting around and like, okay, or it suddenly becomes like, well, how can I just dominate? And that's what a lot of it comes down to. How can I dominate the game by doing this or that?
Well, that's when it's like, okay, you did your cool thing in your 10 minutes. Well, now it's the other person's time to do something. And if you're doing that, even if the party splits, like, well, it doesn't matter. You did your 5-10 minutes of talking to whoever or fighting whatever. Now it's these people over here's individual turns to do 5-10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. Even if you're like halfway through a sentence, you do that in writing as well. You cut from one character at the end of a scene about to jump some thieves, and then you pick up with some other characters somewhere else doing something else.
Be right back, minute, guys.
And when
and again,
like that's a very common like cliffhanger structural thing in all other forms of storytelling. And because this form of storytelling is gamified, it should not be like ignored.
No, well, you're supposed to do that anyway. And people forget game balance means that you have the ability to do something, which is why you have classes for D&D, because each class is supposed to be able to do, a certain function.
Well,
and that's
there should never be a time where one character can't hit another entity just because their number is too low. It should just be harder, not impossible.
I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to the fact that you shouldn't have the point where whatever you're playing is invalidated by what other people are playing that are not the same. That's what I'm referring to. Is if all of a sudden you're going to play, and he was talking about Palladium. you're playing a dog boy, then you need to have certain things that dog boys can use. If you're just going to say, well, you know what, you do this and you do this and you do this, and that's one of the things that people forget. The real benefit of playing human, again, people don't use it, was they were the only race that didn't get a lot of negatives for interactions. And yet people don't use it. And the same part that comes into it is,
well, a lot of times people don't use the negatives for the other races.
oh yeah,
and that's the problem.
oh well, and that's the whole thing. That's why the drow were supposed to be killed on sight, but people didn't play it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just magically hide. It's like, no, that's not the way it should work. You know, you should be hunted. It's like, you know,
like there was that storyline where the drow were like making themselves look like humans, not through makeup, through magic. And like I think they were like polymorphing or something like that. I can't remember.
And I see Off Grid talking about this stuff, and it's like you're referring to that everyone is equal. That's not the point of game balance. Game balance is that you are useful within the game. You know, that's what it's supposed to be, and that's one of the reasons I don't like paladins and rangers in many cases, because they vastly outclass fighters. It's like, no, if you're really going to do it, then just play a holy warrior. And like, oh well, I want to be able to cast spells. Well, guess what? Then become dual classed.
Yeah, I just had the speech to text.
Yeah,
read that comment to me, right? And I got it set to this very like breathy female voice. It's really disturbing me. For some reason, the browser won't pick it up, so I can't share the voice. But it's like, in every fucking thing. You know that type of female voice, right? Like,
well, we're not saying that you don't get unbalanced results. We're saying certain parts. What we're saying again is the people confusing game mounts, meaning that I should be able to do the same thing that someone else is, even if they're a different class, including the same threats and risks. And that's not what I mean at all by game balance.
Especially if you have like the negative traits of classes or character types just totally ignored. I should start penalizing. One of your characters in my Morkborg game is supposed to have a limp. I'm gonna figure out what one of it is and give you guys a remember that next time before we start next session. I think
what do you mean one of us is supposed to?
Like in your character sheets, it says has a limp.
Oh, okay.
It's not me.
Yeah, it's not
no,
me.
I think it's Raven.
Yeah, well, my surviving face. But
it's covered up.
Done that, you know. But part of that is that's what you're supposed to do. In certain games, I know what they do is they'll give a negative trait to the character, and if the player plays that trait on their character, they get bonus experience, which I actually kind of like because
that's a very Red Room philosophy as well.
No, I wouldn't give you bonus experience. I would deduct experience for not doing it.
I understand, but what I'm referring to is that it's a lot easier to encourage people.
It's the carrot or the stick. You know, different people have different styles.
And I prefer the stick with spikes at the end and maybe electricity.
And preferably up his rectum.
Thank you. You two words on mine.
See how
shadows into that shit.
He said one too many shots already.
Yeah.
No,
I've got to.
But those are the things that go into it. And, you know, the other thing I don't like, if you're going to talk about dice, don't roll dice unless it means something. You know, that's what I was
not only that, but don't roll the dice until you're told to roll the dice.
Well,
they don't count.
No,
you
can't.
Count. They don't count until you're told to roll.
Yeah, you can't roll perception until you actually look for something.
And even then, you're not rolling.
Role play. Look for something.
And
where do you look?
The dice if it's going to be obvious. If I say I'm going to look under the bed and there's like something that's under the bed, don't roll the dice for that.
Grim was always doing that shit, and it was weird because he's like almost identical to my age, and he grew up in the same thing. But I guess somewhere along the line, he played a crap ton of 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition, and he was always hitting me with that. Can I roll perception? I'm like, no. Where do you look? You know?
Well, it's like look for something, and then okay, we're in a modern setting, and you're looking for I don't know, tax returns for the guy's office you're looking around. What do you do, Omanow?
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, I'm gonna go look for a safe. That's the first thing I'm gonna look for. It's like, all right, let's go look behind.
I'm gonna look in
The
the
safe.
file cabinet.
I gotta look in the file cabinet because smart people put their files in filing cabinets, not safes. They put their fucking extra
Files,
money
please,
and
files.
guns in the safe.
what do you mean? Smart people put their stuff in safes if it's worth actually keeping. You know?
It's your tax returns, Omanow. It's not a bundle of the cash or some bonds.
Yes, tax returns have all sorts of information on them that I don't want people to access.
Yeah.
So,
Then you lock your filing cabinet.
or I put it in a safe, which takes longer, which also helps protect it from fire. That's the other reason you do it.
Yeah, but well, I mean, it depends on when the game is taking place. If it's in the
Yeah.
'60s or '70s, it's online. The IRS has a copy of it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Most people wouldn't be so paranoid to put their fucking tax returns in a safe. Omanow. Weirdos
unless
do
you've
that.
had a fire.
Yes,
I
even
mean,
then.
I,
Nonetheless, okay, you find some papers. Then I might make you roll perception to see if they're the
yeah.
ones you're looking for.
Well, or I just let you automatically find it because you knew where to look. It's but
Yeah,
again,
no, I'm just saying, like, that would be the time to use that kind of roll,
exactly.
right? I look in the filing cabinet. I find papers. Roll perception to see if you actually find the documents you're looking for.
Well,
I got above a 3. Yes, I do.
here's the other
Of
point
a
too.
3 on a 20.
It's a
Here's
filing
the other
cabinet. That
point:
should be in there.
is let it
No,
have
it's
time.
I got the math joke that you put
But
there. That was
but the other point is, guess what? Your roll determines how long it takes you to find them, not that you don't find them. That was one of the things I did not like about certain ones. Is like, oh, you have to find this clue, but if you don't roll the perception, guess what? The whole adventure stops. And you're like,
Mhm.
no.
well, where is the damn item? Did anybody look in the waste paper basket like the purloined letter? If nobody looked in the waste paper basket, you're not going to find it.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, if it's paperwork and you look where there's paperwork, you then put
Yeah, good for you, Grandma.
you don't like make sure it's specifically in some random location. Put it in, like, it's in a logical
Yeah.
location. Then you can
Sure.
roll to see if it's the thing.
Well, that's
If
that's
not, then they have to look somewhere else. And where else would there be paper in this room?
well, but again, that's where we're talking about. At certain points, is you either let them automatically find it, or if you're going to make them roll, then guess what? You're going to find it. It just takes longer.
Well,
Yeah.
the role has to be after you actually do some actual role playing.
No, I agree with you on that. What I'm saying though is, if the whole thing will stop if they don't find it, then the roll will determine how long it takes you to find it, not that you won't find it. Again, if I put
Yeah, if the
diary
clue
under
is
a
the
bag,
only if the clue is the only way to find the location or to solve the mystery, then they have to find the clue. It's just a matter of when and where.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
but again,
Well,
if you put something under the bed and they lift it up and find the diary under the bed, I'm not making you roll perception if they said I look under the bed.
yeah.
If they say I toss the room, then fine. Guess what? It will determine how long it takes you to find. If it's important,
Yeah.
otherwise you may not find it. But if it's important, you'll find it. It'll just determine how long it
Yeah.
takes you to find it.
Well, if a player were to say, "I toss the room,"
Yeah.
I would rebut with, "What do you lift up first?"
Yeah, and that's fair.
Because
But
you're trying to cheat over, like, actually looking around by doing a generic term.
well,
No,
I don't
I
mind
don't have
people
a
doing
problem
generic.
with someone being uh, logical about saying, you know what, I am not leaving until I find it. Okay, well, it takes you an hour.
Yeah. Or guess what? It takes you 3 hours or 4 hours.
Because
Yeah.
that's just using their intellect to solve the problem, which is what role playing, in not in its entirety, but in a vast, aspect is, using your brain to solve the problem that the GM puts forward in front of you. And if you think of a sentence that solves the problem or the riddle, you shouldn't be penalized for it.
Yeah. Well,
Well, and I will mention one thing when she's talking about latent perception. I don't mind it if it's going to be something like, do you see the feet under the curtains or something? It's like, okay, you have a
Well,
chance to find it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I do that
different.
shit all
Yeah,
the time. I mean,
yeah,
I have you guys roll a d6 to see if you notice the thing. You
right.
know, because there's a chance nobody notices it. And there have been those times where you guys didn't notice the thing.
Well, there's
mhm.
times that we should have, and you just ignored it. No, just
I don't know if that's the case.
well, yeah, because I had the true seeing thing, and I said, "Hey, does that work?" Like, "Oh yeah, that should have worked." So like, "All right, that's fine."
Yeah, well, I can't remember everything I hand out. Just saying.
Yeah, because you
Yeah,
hand
but
out too much magic items. You damn fucking magic dealing
no. I
weirdo.
specifically asked, and you just went, "Oh, okay."
Hey,
Oh
this
yeah.
game is tame. Trust me, compared to what I normally run.
I
Yeah,
know.
well, yeah, it's wrong, man. One
Yeah.
magic item per every hundred sessions,
Well, I don't mind magic
and
items
not per
being.
player, per party.
I don't mind magic items being rare as long as they're useful, and I
Yeah,
don't mind.
well, that's the problem. Is magic items aren't rare in Shadow's world. He hands
Yeah,
them out
because I
like
don't
fucking
see
shit.
them. I don't see them the way you do, as in they shouldn't exist. Okay, it would be if I use that same mentality in a sci-fi games. Up, nope, you can't have lasers or sonars or all this other or robots or that crap. No, those are tropes that belong in that genre. This particular genre isn't sword and sandals. It isn't low fantasy. It's high fantasy, and in high fantasy, magic items are no different than going, to the corner store to pick up some healing
Yeah,
potions.
but
Because in a high
but
tech game, you could literally go down to the corner and pick up some hypo
but
sprays. Now, I
Shadow. Let me stop you there. You're missing the point. The point is we're busting your balls.
I get
No, no,
that.
no, no.
I
I'm
get that.
saying for the whole thing.
And
And
Shadow's
even
Omenau's being
in
a spark. Ignore him.
Yeah. Well, yes, because I've played the game long enough
Also,
to say that you have to have
I gotta
magic
put that
items.
message back out there.
Anyway,
Gotta
you
put
have
that
to have
message
certain
back
magic
out there.
items while you're there. Um,
oh dear God,
but
you're literally like the only one laughing.
I'm
at that.
okay with that.
Uh,
I
and
I
you have to
tell
admit, I
jokes
mean,
to amuse me, not you.
right?
It's the
And
same way I make
I
love to
could,
a woman. Nope.
right.
For
well,
my
she thinks it's a
Only
pleasure.
joke
one,
too,
only one
so
person's coming away
For
happy.
my pleasure.
Only one person's getting satisfied.
If you happen to be,
Eh,
if you happen to laugh too, good on you. But I'm the one that I'm concerned about right now.
Well, and
even in my game, there are things that aren't, super, easy to find or get.
Yeah.
It's case by case
well, I
basis.
think
What
part
what's common and what's not common when it comes to
part of
magic.
the problem is that people start identifying themselves more with their items
I would like to
than
say
they
one
are
thing.
with their character.
Nice, Grandma. I'm putting this
I would
one
like
up.
to say one thing. It's Corno is comment 100 of the evening.
How come you're seeing that, but I'm not?
I don't know.
As in the comment award thing. I see the comment, but I don't see that it's the 100th comment
Yeah.
thing.
Uh,
I'm just gonna get some water. I'm still listening.
I'll screen cap it.
Anyway, they but no, but that's the thing is, I know you were talking about players would rather, they get mad about losing items. Like, well, you should have items being lost or they should be being destroyed over time, which encourages you to get out there with more of it.
No. I don't care if they last forever. I just think you shouldn't hand them out till he's good.
It will for D&D. That's kind of the expectation. Is the expectation is your characters not only are expected to have them, they're almost required to have them.
Yeah, well,
And that's part of how the system works for that. And they even talk about that in certain cases.
Yeah, it's literally taking, all the fantasy novels that players have,
right.
read over the years or whatever, and being able to walk away with some of that in their hands, so to speak.
Yeah.
And how much of that magic power in their hands is,
Usable or whatever.
varies,
Yeah,
It,
I
But
totally get it. I understand where it's coming from, and like most of it's just busting your balls. The other is I would actually like to play in a low fantasy setting sometime.
well, it's
Uh,
part of me is I don't mind
I might
low
have to
fantasy, but
GM it or something.
I like high adventure
probably
but low fantasy, which is which is something different than what a lot of people do. Um, the high fantasy, which is I want to do the Conan aspect, not like we're saying the grim dark. Hey, I just die everywhere.
Yeah,
Right?
well,
yeah, well, it's one of those phases that we're going through right now. Is exactly what you two are both talking about. Um, I've never longed for.
Well,
If I want that, I'm going to read Conan or some of those novels because um,
Shadow, do you see what I got in the sidebar there?
no, I don't. Hold on, let me also remove this so I can do this.
I just want to prove it to you. It popped up.
the problem that I
No,
have
no,
is
it's just
it's a
I believe you. I just it's not the first time that that's happened. I never see it when it does happen.
This was comment 100 of the evening. Just
Nice.
saying. I wish there was a counter because I would have made the requests for recruitment for your new film. Comment
Yeah.
100.
Uh, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Don't forget,
To me,
people. Shadow is looking for new talent for his film,
no, I've never filmed
Men of
anything
the
like
Summer
that.
17.
I yeah. To me, the whole low magic kind of
Well,
thing. I
it's not that there is low magic in the world. It's that your motherfucking ass is never getting it.
right. I literally did 10 years of that. If I never do that again, it will be literally too soon. When you're playing in games like D&D, where like Omen said, it's kind of a requirement, but the GM is thinking, no, we're gonna play, swords and sandals, low fantasy, and that's all you're gonna
Well,
get.
I
Uh,
ne-
it really sours
next
you
fucking
on the
game I
idea of
run
that.
will be one I made up myself, and it will be that, and you're gonna play in it, and you're gonna like it, and you're not gonna bitch or be a stick in the mud like you normally are, because the only thing you want to do is make gay porn. We know that. Uh,
So I mean, it depends on which games you're talking about. But to me, the big issue I have is
fine, fine. 1 second, Omanal. Fine. The next game I will run will be Shadow's gay porn production finance.
Yeah, exactly, Grandma. I want my cool gear. You know, uh, we're humans. We're tool users.
Yeah,
We're like the only ones that we really know of. And
you still
without
get cool
you,
gear.
you drop a human naked on a desert island, the first thing he's going to do is start making tools.
Yes, except for
He's got
you.
to.
You're gonna find two other guys and make them do it for your entertainment.
No, that's never happened. Never going to happen. Never have I wanted that to happen.
well, see, the
I
problem that I
find
have with
your
this whole thing is it's not that I don't mind cool gear, is I like having cool gear, whether it's breakable or it's limited. This is one of the reasons, and I know that's why Guy actually left. This is one of the reasons giving
Exactly.
potions and wands and other stuff. It's like, well, or what is it? The plate mail of ethereal, this stuff like that. What I don't want it to be is, um, some of them are just bland. Plate mail plus 3. It's nice, cool, but it's not cool.
It's you know what? It was really the result of the
I don't
mechanics.
know.
You know what I mean? All of the plus items, were just a way to deal with certain situations and make the players feel like they got something. I totally agree. I think that there really should have never been anything less than a +5.
Well,
What Magic
well,
user
no.
is literally going to waste his time making
There
that?
should have never been an item that was plus.
I prefer.
Like
I
if
agree.
it's
As to
magic, it
me,
has some sort of like ability, not it
Yeah,
gives
yeah.
you
Well,
sharpness or whatever.
well, no. I've read many a story. As a matter of fact, I read one story where there was a magic blade in the story, and you know what its magic power was? It never missed.
I love the magic power that sword had.
You throw a
No,
sword
no,
like
no,
that
no. I'm
that's
not talking about whatever
literally.
the fuck you said after a magic
I know
sword. The
whatever made
moment I
Omen
just.
go away. I know. Haha, very funny. Come on back whenever you want,
Yeah.
Owen.
Oh.
You know, if I was to make, if I could make a magic sword,
If I can make a
I
magic
would make
sword.
something like something I would think of is yeah, it never misses,
Yeah.
or it always kills whoever it hits. I'm
Yeah,
not going
but
to just make
that could
it.
be like the
Oh, it's
sword of
plus. It's 10% more likely to
the
hit.
sword of
That's retarded.
unhealing wound, or the sword of like if write it like better than +5,
Well,
lurder.
that was again. When you get those unique blades that are intelligent or somewhat intelligent in the
Yeah,
rules, that's when they start getting names and
yeah. Well,
stuff. Or the
that's like
the firebrand, the frost brand.
the difference. Like I prefer the cool gear that is like it's well made, and like you did cool shit with it, so your sword's got a name. Like that's how swords would get names in real life, is because people would do cool shit with them, and the stories would start like naming them Excalibur and shit, and claiming
Well,
they had magic
even
abilities when they were just a fucking sword.
in Fritz Lieber's Grey Mouser and
Faffer and
Fafford
Greymaster.
stories, Grey Mouser's got two weapons, a rapier saber kind of blade, and like a dirk or a really nice
Yeah,
dagger. He calls them scalpel and cat's claw, neither of which are magic. And if he ever loses them, he just goes and gets something similar and keeps calling them that.
yeah,
But they're never magical as far as I
yeah,
know. So,
yeah. And I'd rather that kind of like. I have no problem with the odd magic item popping up here and there. It's just I would like most of it being that, and not there's no way I can fight that thing because my blade isn't +2 or magic of some kind. Like there should never be the you can't fight it because your weapon's not magic.
well, yeah, I don't know. I've read many a story where they needed at least silver,
But that's at least silver, not magic, right?
right? But if you didn't know to bring a silver blade
Yeah,
in, and suddenly you're dealing with a werewolf or some
you
such,
got to get the fuck out
then
of there. And
right, which is kind of been a thing since day one. You go into a place and you find out the hard way that you need to now go find a magic
yeah,
weapon. So you might as well get the hell out of there and then make your next adventure
and
the search for a magic weapon so you can handle that whatever that
it
was that can't be hit.
it makes a lot more sense to have a sword like it seems more realistic to have a sword that has a silver inlay going down the blade or something like that, what should qualify as a silver weapon, then I need magic. Like anyone can buy silver and inlay a sword with it. Not
Well, not anyone, but
anyone should be able to afford several coins worth of silver.
you said I was being pedantic. You can maybe afford it, but having the skill to do so, if you had the skill to do so, you probably weren't an adventurer because you were busy doing that for other
Yeah,
people.
but you could probably also hire someone or, buy the sword with the silver inlay. Uh,
But even then, it's part of the you can't handle everything, and sometimes you need to run
yes,
away, and
well,
that inspired it kept that notion going in the fact that oh shit my blade's not hurting this monster there's literally nothing I can do, we need to get out of here,
yeah,
and then the party gets out of there and then does the research and finds out oh well you need this weapon or a weapon like this that was made by this way, this procedure or some such, so now you've got to go find either a weapon that was made that way or have one made, and either
yeah,
way the monster don't care. He's doing his thing in his dungeon, minding his own business, sleeping most of the time or whatever, and you go off and find the way to now tackle that obstacle.
yeah. But it's just one of those. It would be like saying you can only shoot some guy with a ray gun instead of like normal bullets to me.
You mean like the silver bullet and the
No, I
werewolf?
mean like if you're playing a sci-fi game and there's some guy walking down the street, and no matter how much you pulled you fired your Glock at him, it does nothing but a ray gun that is the equivalent strength and just like kill him or something. It's just it's got that kind of just just
Both,
so rationality, right? And
maybe.
I can give you in a high fantasy world. It's just like I don't like it being an all the time thing, and
Yeah, I don't think I've used that on you guys ever.
early in the campaign it happened a few times.
Maybe against a particular undead. I think you might have run into some whites. And that
We
was the
did run
case.
into whites a few times in the early.
And that was kind of exactly what I was saying. Not only should you get the fuck out of here, if you don't, you're going to start losing levels
Yeah,
because it's a 4 hit die, low level monster, kind of. But guess what? You get hit, you lose a level,
yeah.
and you're at that point, uh, you lose 2 levels or 3, and you're one of them now. So yeah, it's time to get the hell out of there and come back with like a more powerful cleric or some better gear, and then maybe you blast the things as soon as you see them, and don't try to get into hand to hand combat with something like that.
Nobody ever listens to me, man.
And I remember one of those specific encounters, and if
Yeah,
Omen's
yeah. I
here.
was just
Sorry,
gonna say, well, I don't know, but
I was painting.
I like
Sorry,
that
Omen.
they don't
Uh,
automatically pop the thing up now. It's just a subline. Uh,
yeah. I just saw that too. I remember that encounter, and I literally was rolling shit for those whites. It was like I think it was on the when you went down in that cave at the top of the mountain, and you met the alchemist, or you bumped into the alchemist or whatever, Martin the Mad Wizard or whatever. And there was a white there, and he kept rolling shit, but you guys couldn't hit him even when you hit him. And
Well,
had
part
that
of the
one or two die rolls differently, and someone would have been making up a new character.
this
but I mean,
guy,
but even for whites, if you actually look at them, whites are not that hard
yeah,
to defend against.
yeah,
You just need very bright light. That's it's the problem is everyone wants to look at things as, well, do we have to fight it? Like, okay, I
yeah.
understand that, but
You
like with
gotta
the
fight the
yeah.
whites with the power of the sun. I'm gonna keep making that joke. So
Anyway, they but if you get, yeah, that's why they burn under the sun. Anyway,
Right.
but that's the whole point of the whites will, if you have a bright light, will stay back, and that's what
Uh-huh.
happens to a lot of it. When I hear all these people talk about level drains, and I start looking at the monsters, if they're played as they're written, um, vampires are not that hard to keep at bay. Whites aren't that hard to keep at bay.
No.
I think the only one that's really hard is specters, and there are only like 5 monsters that level drain that aren't like named named things in the entire monster manual. I think that they're overused a lot of times.
what
Because they're
But-
terrifying.
what things?
Well, it's not because they're terrifying. It's because they're fucking annoying,
Yeah.
and they're put into places that they aren't appropriate either. Like, I don't mind finding a white if we're going to open up certain things, but
Okay, let me find another word besides terrifying. They're they're an attention getter.
I don't mind if it's going to be.
Yeah, it's because
if
we're
you're low
better
level,
than the rest of you. That's why.
Well, if you're low level and you're trying to, and you suddenly open up a crypt and you find a white, that makes sense. That's supposed to be, that's somewhat terrible. The same thing's supposed to happen with mummies, ghosts, but they're supposed to be rare or very rare. And the problem I found is in a lot of modules and stuff is they were thrown in as if they were regular monsters all the time. So you find them
Well,
all.
no, I think we get that from
Yeah.
some of the old like Sinbad and Jason the Argonauts movies, or some of the Michael Whalen covers, like the I think it was Bane of the Black Sword, where Elric is surrounded by a freaking a room full of freaking zombies or ghouls or whatever, and all the zombie movies that we've experienced where one of them's scary, 10 or 50 of them is, terrifying, and it's time to run. And of course, they don't run because, after about seventh level, the cleric's just dusting them, and by the handful, which I think is kind of awesome. It's kind of an awesome spectacle to imagine that the cleric just holds out his holy symbol, and like half a dozen or even a dozen, if he gets really lucky, of X creature just their ash right
Well,
there.
but
That's
that's
awesome.
but and it should be, and that's one of the things we were talking about before about the inevitable power creep of always trying to keep fighting the big thing. It's like, no, sometimes let the players just be complete badasses and let
Exactly.
them carve through goblins and skeletons and zombies, and it's like, oh,
It,
so
it, it
players
truly did, Grandma.
Yeah,
so
and
players feel like
sometimes you think
I've
you've killed
done something
something, but
powerful,
then it blows away in the wind, and you might see it again.
and it
Hmm.
becomes a terrible song. No, anyway,
Hey,
no,
that's not that bad a song. It's just
I know
overplayed.
it's not.
Like
I
Dusty.
know it's not.
It's like
But
Stairway to
Oh
Heaven
fuck!
and
I-
back in.
if I could go back in time and shoot the fuckers that wrote that song before it got recorded,
You'd only have to shoot Jimmy
well,
Page.
I'd shoot the rest of them just for the fun of it. That way,
well,
I would
some of it
never
is.
have to
Yeah.
hear. I would never have to know of the concept of the song "Stairway to Heaven." And I think I've only heard it like four or
Anyway,
five times.
the whole thing
Well,
of getting like magic and doing some of these things is, if magic items are rare, when the players get them, then they value them a lot, and that's one of the reasons I actually wish, like a lot of monsters are vulnerable to
Well,
silver,
I'm just saying.
but really by the second or third level, players are already have plus weapons, and
I,
that
I
just isn't
really don't
good.
think I really don't think Justin could value his ring and his horn and any more than he
Oh,
does.
yeah. Well, I've been deliberately giving myself since I got those two rings put together, um, invisibility and super speed.
Rapid
Yeah,
transit.
super speed. I'm invisible, Flash. Uh, um, I've been deliberately trying to limit
Well,
myself to horns. That's because
but what I'm but
which
what
makes
I'm
me
trying to
just
say,
more and more
look at
superpowered every time.
is like Lord of the Rings. How powerful actually was the One Ring? What did it do? It made you invisible. It didn't really do that much else, but
Oh
it still
no!
did the
Well,
effect.
it did if you were Sauron. It gave you mind control and devotion and like it's like,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure if Frodo kept wearing it, he would start picking up more and more abilities. Like,
Or if he tried to use it that way,
yeah,
if he knew that he could do that and tried to use it, I'm sure it
yeah,
probably would have said, "Yeah, sure, no problem.
yeah,
Yeah, you want to dominate Aragorn? Yeah, no
yeah.
problem. He gets no saving throw."
Well, except it doesn't work that way for as much.
Well, he never
The
tries to
real
use it
power
that
of it
way.
was corruption. Well, but a lot of it is Sauron already had those abilities. That's the whole part of it.
The
Is
point is,
I
it was
mean,
supposed to like directly reach into the hearts of others and give them to the wearer of the ring.
yes, but again, but it was also supposed to corrupt whoever
Yeah,
had it. That's why he
well,
did it.
it's because
It controlled it controlled the ones who had the
it's
rings.
not
That's
on the
part of what it
hand
was
that
for.
it belongs to. That's why it doesn't have its full powers. Now, if I were to game master that scenario or create that item, I would create a list of like 100 things that periodically the wearer of that ring could roll on and gain as an ability.
Yeah, Grandma, I don't know that I'm a big fan of that. Where your weapon or your item goes up as you go up, uh, unless it's done just right. I've been in a couple of games where it was just like it was too video gamey,
That
where everybody got like the thing that did that, and so everybody, it was like all these like way too many
Yeah,
abilities all at once for the
that
party.
mechanic really works well if a it's only if you're using that item and B, if it's like magic items, obviously, like some iron sword wouldn't. It's just an iron sword, and like the magic items are rare. So like you have one magic item, two magic items for your entire game for your
Well, I'm
player,
going to
not
bring
not
this.
for.
Yeah, but every time I've ever seen the unlocking ability item, it was like everybody got one. So
Well,
suddenly everybody's got like these abilities that made no sense to their profession.
Yeah,
It was like a superhero ability. You know, suddenly you're
you
invisible,
got the
but I'm
glasses.
the paladin. You
You got
know,
the glasses of laser eyes, and
yeah, that
well,
kind of
well.
crazy shit, and everybody got it at the same time because if only one guy gets it, then the rest of the players are like, kind of
yeah,
sour grapesy about it. A little jealous. And the only way to remedy that is I've seen is that the GM then goes, oh well, now it's time for you to get your level up weapon
yeah.
too. Like they're the characters from the D&D cartoon.
Well, see, here's the way I look at it for
Hmm.
two things. One is I don't mind it if it unlocks as long as the powers are directly determined by the actions of the character. And what I mean by that is if you're using a sword over time and you keep killing goblins with it, well, guess what? It starts becoming,
Known as the Goblin Slayer or whatever.
yeah, exactly. So you start getting that, and it starts having the bonuses towards goblins, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have it towards dragons. And then the other part is, guess what? When someone else picks up the sword, they don't get those abilities because they've tied it in. And actually, I think Earthdawn did a good job for
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And I saw
that's why
that they
you
were.
need a sword of elf heart piercing or something like that.
Well, but I mean, but that's fair. Is if your character's going around, stabbing drow or something like that, and over time it starts, your sword starts becoming magical because that's what you're doing, but it only works against drow. Then it's like, okay, well that makes sense. And then the players start realizing, well,
I
what am I
need a
doing with
magic item that I can attach to my whip to make it less lethal.
You can do subdual damage, right? Oh,
It's a whip now with barbs on the end.
and see, that's something that people don't do either. A lot of
So,
times for like
so,
D&D and these others, is they don't use the subdual non-lethal damage.
Yeah, because most people don't want to deal with prisoners.
but I do.
I know.
I'm gonna start saying that subdual damage on every fucking thing I whip. Just assume.
The only problem it won't if they fail one of their saving throws, it won't matter.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's whether or not they get enslaved or whether or not they die of poison,
Of
rot,
rot.
whatever. It's the same fucking shit. It's healed the same way.
It's, but again, there are certain things that are in there. I
I'm
know
okay
the
with them
exalted.
getting their saving throw on the rot, as long as they're thoroughly, permanently knowing who's in charge around here.
Well, I'm going to say something too, which is it's not that I don't want to play low fantasy, but I like playing all types of games. So I like doing high fantasy and low fantasy. So if I want to do my low fantasy game, I play in the low fantasy one. If I want to do the high fantasy, I play in the high fantasy one. If I want to do my sci-fi, I do that one. And I think that's part of the issue is if you're only going to play one game, what do you want to play?
Yeah.
That's a very different aspect. It's like, hey, I'm playing 4 or 5 games. Then guess what? I don't mind playing the little mud guy on one game, but then I get to play the super powerful one on a different one. You're like, okay, cool. That's
But not
what-
everybody has that
that's-
option.
Well, we all
know?
here do, so it's not a thing for.
No, I really
Yes,
don't.
you do. We got our Saturday night games. All kinds of things can go on there.
Right, but the game I'd want to be in just doesn't exist.
Well, what type of game do you want to be in? Is the real question.
Well, yeah. Well,
Uh,
like we I'm not making that game for you. I'm not being in any of your films. I'm not going to make that game with you. I don't care, man. I don't care how much you want to play male on male orgy time. No one
it's
here is
never
interested in
was
that,
centered on
bro.
thought process. Um,
Well, no,
Uh,
I mean, honestly, what type of game are you trying
Yeah.
to play?
you
And
know,
you know, that's
higher fantasy than I run.
well. Then, if you're doing that, then you know, and I know that you didn't get a good experience with it, which is one of the reasons I love to do it, but I need to really watch a lot
Have
more
you
stuff.
heard
Is
of
watching Exalted, which you want to talk about high fantasy. There's some
No,
high
no, no, I
fantasy crap.
hated everything about that game.
what's that?
Well,
What's
no,
that
no,
D and
but
D
yeah,
setting?
because
Is it that one? The
which one?
the one where you're like in the middle of the multiverse world.
Oh no, no, that's Planescape. No, no, yeah,
Planescape. Yeah, yeah. He
but
wants to play
Shadow.
Planescape, but the fifth
Well,
edition
no, what I'm
version of
referring
Planescape,
to is
because that.
the game that he's referring to is he can do it with Exalted, but I know what he was talking about, which is
No,
it
no,
shouldn't
seriously. Everything
for you.
in the fifth edition Planescape is like magic this, magic that. It's like
I understand.
you're on the.
I've never even read this, Omen.
Oh no. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. But what I'm
Uh,
referring to
I don't think I've even
I'm
ever
not saying
opened it.
Planescape. Justin's saying Planescape. I'm saying for
yeah,
Exalted is
he
it
said he
has
hates his
it plays at
Exalted.
that whole different level. That's the one where you're actually playing at the near the level of gods.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
No,
or that is a better.
I didn't mean that kind of.
that's
Uh,
another game I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind playing like the all normal dudes one, but like the all wizards apprentice or whatever. Like everyone's just fresh out of Harry Potter school or whatever. Uh,
Well,
you
again,
just graduated from Hogwarts, Harry. Congratulations. What are you gonna do now? Magic stuff with
well,
my friends that also do magic stuff. Lurder.
but no, I mean, the things that you're talking about. If you want to play that higher level stuff, Exalted can do it.
not
Now,
quite that high level.
Yeah.
well, to be fair on that one, you can tailor again what kind of level
Fabro
do you want it,
Cadabro, you're dead now,
and and,
Lurder.
and we already talked about doing those one shots.
Yeah.
This is why you don't have people create their own characters for one shots because, or even like short campaigns. It might be short campaigns is like 4 sessions or something
Yeah.
because people don't know what they're doing and they shouldn't be spending more time creating characters than they are actually playing the
Yeah.
game.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Don't even remind me.
Yeah.
That whole
But
thing
no,
with
I mean,
table breakers.
but no, if I'm ever going to run a short campaign for them, like, well, here are the characters. It's like you can tell me the type of character you want, and I'll create a character for you.
Or
But it's not, one of those things that's like, here's the rule book, go. And you're like, there's too
well,
much. That's the
all rule
analysis
book
paralysis
like
that comes
a
into it.
well-written rule book should have some pre-generated characters in it. A
Well,
well-written,
Or
starter set
or a
should.
quick start guide.
yes,
A quick start and a starter adventure should always have
yeah,
pre-gens. And actually, if you look at the old D&D books, they had them. They had like 20 characters. Like, here you go.
If not in the books, they definitely had them in the modules.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the modules. Well, every starter set should have a module,
Yeah.
pre-gens, basic set of
Did
rules.
Keep on the Borderlands have pre-gens? I don't remember.
Yes, if you look in the back, they had like 20 characters that you could.
Select Crow.
Um, you could roll like a d20. It said, "Here's your magic user. Here's some stats." Yep.
I'll send it
Uh,
to her.
Sure, Raven. That's weird
Uh,
because I sent it from here.
yeah, is it? Are you on Discord right now, Raven? Because I'll send it to you.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the things that a lot of them.
Well, she didn't try using it there.
I sent it to her.
The other part is that if you can go through with it, I can also, as a DM,
You don't need to put
give
that on the
players
screen,
either
Shadow.
magic items or spells or things that they would need to get through the adventure.
Yeah.
Now, how they use them is different, but I can at least tailor it so they don't feel like, well, I took these spells or I rolled this up and my character's kind of useless here. Like, yeah, if you just gotten this one.
Yeah, well, that's why when we were playing, I told
Yep.
Raven that because she's basically playing the magic user again, the occult herbalist.
Yeah.
That her first 2 daily things, she could just pick, and then if we go through the next day because they reset every day, she'd have to tell me
Right.
at the beginning. I just assumed that she did that because we started in the middle of the day or whatever. So I could have had her do that at the beginning, the first session, but I didn't
Well,
really care.
well, and
I
this
don't.
is,
I really don't care.
but
Um,
this is true of sci-fi as
yeah,
well. For sci-fi, is I can give you equipment that you're going to need during the
yeah.
adventure
Well,
without you having to buy
yeah.
it. It's like,
Um,
okay, you already got it, and you know what's
like there's
there.
a starter
Um,
basket of stuff that you should have or whatever, but it's also like the magic item list, or in this case, the poisons and herbs list, is a lot
yeah.
shorter, so it's easier to do that with. Um,
Well, I'm saying as a prejud, if I'm giving it to players as a
yeah,
DM, I can make sure that they have the things that they need to succeed in
yeah.
the
Well,
adventure.
sometimes
Now,
it's fun.
later on,
Sometimes it's fun to like have stuff that is like batshit crazy because I fucked up in generating the character if it's random enough, and then just see what I can do, whether I succeed or not. Right? Because
well, yes.
maybe I pull something out of my ass with this stick of bubble gum and 3 paper clips, and
Okay,
because
but you
my
missed my
name
point. Is
is
you
Richard
can do
fucking
both,
Dean Anderson. Okay.
but you can do both. Is my point. Is I can give them something, and then they can come up and do a. To me, there should always be multiple ways to get past an obstacle. But if I can give them something in there that makes it easier for them, then that's fine. If they choose to use it, that's different. But that's what I'm trying to say is guess what? I want you to also have the other stuff, but I can then drop certain things in. Like,
Yeah,
okay, here you go.
just don't give them the like. If there's only one way to do the thing, you got to give them a couple of doses of the thing because they are absolutely going to use the thing on the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like if I use a key or I use something like that, or it's there should be the ability to use it, when
Yeah.
they need to, not just like, well, okay, you blew this, you don't get to get it. I agree with you, but
Like you need vinegar, but they've only got one usage of the vinegar, and they use it on the wrong thing, and now your whole thing is ruined because they did the wrong thing with the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
well, that's why I said is if you could use something like a key or something
Yeah.
like that, you at least give it to the players, or you give them, hey, guess what? This will, you know, you have like a ring of spider climbing or something. Well, okay, good.
Mhm.
Now you have a chance to get through this, or a ring of jumping. It's not something that suddenly becomes super useful all the time, but it's useful for that one instance if they
Oh,
choose
you
to
give
do
me a
it.
ring of spider climbing, I'm getting me a red and freaking blue freaking
Leotard.
super suit.
You get a leotard. You know what you do? You do to him after that, Omanau, right? Is you slowly reveal that the ring is cursed, and then you do the whole same arc from Spider-Man where he starts to grow the extra arms and slowly turn into a giant spider. And that's when he realizes he can't
Anyway.
take the ring off. It's melded with his skin, and
Oh, that's when I go get the rose clippers and chop that fucking finger off.
Well, see, this is why RPG grammar, like she says, that's exactly the point of what I'm making RPG grammar. Is I can do it, but now
you
I can,
see,
I can do different things. It's like, okay, well, here's your list of things you can
that's
do,
what
and
that,
here,
so
here.
that's when I start fucking with your agency, Shadow, and you go get the rose clippers and you go to do it and you get a compulsion uh, urge, and then you gotta like roll for that. You gotta roll for perception on whether or not you
Chop off my own finger to get rid of the
yeah.
cursed magic. Yeah,
You
I
just
know.
like go to cut it off, but you're like cutting into midair by your finger because you're getting like under a 19.
Now he has to chew it off with his. He has to bite it off with his own teeth. That's what it has
Yeah,
to come down
I
to.
would do
no,
that.
he starts to get the little scales and shit, and the little furs, and uh,
No, actually, the worst
that
part is that he can take the ring off, but the mutation continues.
you could do that. Like,
Yeah,
and the next person that picks it up, it's just a gold ring now because it's like passed into your
Hey,
flesh.
you don't know me. I in Connell's 3E game, I think it was. My character committed suicide. I was
well,
out.
why? Why? That's the whole thing. It's like, well, I'm just going to do it because something bad happened to my character. It's like, no, suck it up, you little whiny bitch, and play it through.
My character not only ate pies with little children in them, he went out of his way to get pies for other people so they could do the same thing, not knowing there were children in the pies.
Well, that was a one shot, so yeah, it was.
There's no living that down. There's no forgiveness. That character was doomed and fucked. And
No.
to
Did,
me, that
did,
was
did
not.
the character know? Like, you see, if I
I
if
didn't
I
know.
knew
I didn't know till the end of the game that that's what I had been doing.
if I knew that my character was giving people human child pies, I would do my best to franchise that business.
Yeah, it was Christmas, and I wasn't really in that kind of mood. I was, I'm not Romanian, so I don't have that hatred of being alive quite the way Connell does. So I was like,
Well, he is
yeah,
a
no,
nihilist, and
yeah. So I was like, no, this ain't very Christmassy, and I'm out. So my character at the end of the game hung himself.
well, he's definitely going down for that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't have to, you know, participate in that anymore
Mm,
with that character. There's no redemption from that. Not in those times. That kind of forgiveness is unimaginable.
yeah,
It would take for that. It's just like, how do where do you even start? Even though I had rescued a whole bunch of children, it just did not seem like it was enough.
yeah.
There's no. I could rescue all the children in the world, and I still wouldn't feel
Yeah,
forgiven.
and I want to point this out for Grandma. Magical Mexican wrestling masks probably would be fun, but I'd make you earn it through wearing those Mexican masks while doing things to make them magical.
That reminds
It
me.
wouldn't be that way when you start
We're
off.
supposed to go to the swap meet this weekend, and there's a place at the swap meet that sells luchadores masks. I might have to get one.
You can't. You can't get one
Why?
because they're colorful and stuff, and you only wear black.
If I find one that's black and silver, I can get it, or black and red, or black and purple.
The problem is that they don't come with the gag automatically.
I knew you were going to go there. I just knew it.
Gold star, I'm now. It's not my show, but I'm awarding it to you anyway.
Anyway, but no, it's again, if it's one shots, I don't really care that much. It's like, okay, and if you can do a horror film kind of thing, then that's what goes on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey,
so,
hey! You were saying earlier about
And where's Raven?
I don't know. She got
I
2
don't
minutes
know.
to be here before the show ends.
Actually, you're talking about that RPG Grandma, but I know that it was the Weird Frontiers or whatever, where they actually had the luchador as a character class.
Yeah, I hated it.
Grandma.
You hate everything.
Yeah, well,
No, I don't.
there's a
No,
stick.
I really like.
There's a stick and some mud, and the stick is in the mud.
Hey, that's not entirely true. I really liked the original Deadlands and
Yeah.
some of the other things that went along with it. Those characters were cool. But I went through the. What game was that?
Was the Weird West?
Yeah.
The Weird
Yeah,
Frontiers.
I went
Weird
through it.
Frontiers.
And I honestly couldn't really find. Let's put it this way: everything was actually too weird and divergent from most of the Wild West tropes.
Now I want to say,
Yeah,
Grandma's saying I'd make jelly babies out of real babies. No, I take a page from my fellow Canadians' masterpiece. That would be Mike Myers'
Speaking thought here.
uh,
Only
Austin
there's-
Power 3, I think.
that was for here. Here. Shit.
What are you
I'm
doing,
not-
Raven?
Huh?
Someone's coming through or what?
That was Raven.
Okay.
I was talking to the cat.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Well, there's humans here,
Yeah,
and we talk
yeah.
back.
It's not all kinds of weird. Bye, Raven.
I actually, I don't want to talk to
Yeah,
humans.
that being baby is the other white meat. Uh,
Uh,
because
Not always though.
fat bastard ate baby. Baby, get in my belly. Oh, he's talking to me. He thought I was a kid. Oh, I just saw the scene earlier. The with his son there. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that one. It's a
Shh,
preemptive.
shh,
Oh, try it again, Raven.
shh.
As a matter of fact, I used to do that with Jackie. That whole you come give your father a hug. Don't look at me like I'm freaking Frankenstein. Oh, and if I didn't have gum in my mouth, I could actually sound a little more like Doctor Evil. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
I used
it's
to
your
love that, but
Nicorette.
now I
It's your Nicorette. Nicorette.
what? Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, having your cravings.
It's it's more of the ritual of doing the thing at the time, like getting out of the shower and having a meal, etc. uh, I did all those things for 40 freaking years. It's going to take more than a couple of months to ruin
Yeah,
that thought process, but uh, you know so far so good.
I drank 5 to 6 liters of cola a day for at least 30.
All right, I drank up to 4 liters of soda and for a minimum of 4 cups of coffee or a blender full of mocha fraps, and that was easier to quit all at the same time.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I started smoking on my 18th birthday, like regularly, like every day a pack of cigarettes until right before the holidays. I was up to like 30 cigarettes a day. Because of your show, I would smoke like 5 outside. Um,
yeah. You shouldn't be.
but they were shorts, so it wasn't quite like a full cigarette, but still, you know, uh, all things considered, uh,
Hmm.
I've quit all the other things, drinking and stuff. So it was that one thing that was that constant, I may have, quit this, but I still did that. I may have quit that, but I still did that, you know, all through that 40-year
Well,
period. And
you're still a slacker, and you're a constant stick in the mud. And those aren't jokes. Those are like honest criticisms. There.
take care, Grandma. It was really nice seeing you again.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, you stole the show Saturday. You just absolutely stole the show. So
Yeah.
make sure you come
Uh,
back.
yes. Yes.
G's game.
Yes. Um, I'm trying to help you with that. I expect you to be a
Hey,
better person.
well, I am doing my best on all those fronts. As for the stick in the mud, I like a lot of games, but
No,
I've either
no,
been
it's with
spoiled.
other things as well. Um,
I've either been spoiled or I have very definitive wants and desires when I go into those things, and
yeah.
that's what I'm looking for. There's a lot of games that are on my bucket list that I've never got to play, being the Eternal GM, and I think that over the years, um,
That.
with the literal thousands of players that I've DM'd for, and the very few games that I've gotten to be
Yeah.
in, and most of those experiences were severely lacking, compared to, like I said, I think you know,
They're
uh,
considerably lacking compared to the masterpiece that is the game that I'm running.
that's not true, but
Yeah.
I've had worse GMs. Connell was literally the worst. I still love him like a brother, but his was the worst game I've ever been in. And I was in a game where I lost not one, not two, not three, but 4 high level characters that I had played for
I,
years. And I went into this one guy's game. One died, brought in another one. He died, died, died. The last one was a bard, old school bard that was like, I I want to say like almost 10th level
I'm
bard.
very upset
which-
none of you, especially Raven, has died so far.
And I still think Connell's game was worse.
Yeah.
Mind you, it wasn't entirely his fault. Bruce was trying to torpedo it.
How so?
I don't know why.
How so?
Uh, just not taking things seriously in a certain way, like literally run. He was in the middle of having sex with this NPC and got the call to action, and he literally ran out in the snow with nothing but boots and a sword, hoping to get killed. I think so that he could be out of the game. And then Connell did not kill him when he clearly had ample opportunity to do it. There were these hobgoblins that saw him and saw other people and chose not to shoot all their arrows into the naked guy and divided up their shots and things like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm not sure I'd always shoot the naked guy either because I'm like, well, I can always take him on later.
He was charging at them with a freaking broadsword.
Oh,
you're
usually I
the
shoot
naked
at
guy.
whoever's closest, but it's like within
He
reason.
was kind of also, if he wasn't closest, he was equal distance from the others, and they should have just taken him out. But I've seen a lot of that over the years of playing online with you guys. That's why I did the player characters must die videos, because I literally can tell when the GM's trying to not kill them.
Yeah. Like
You know,
you, always.
It's no.
I
I've
expect you to kill someone's character next session, and not mine.
you've only got one character.
Yeah, I like all my horns.
No, I do.
I'm a horny
I have
individual. I deserve to live.
I have the bad guys do their level best, and if the dice don't, roll in that direction, then that's the way it goes.
I want you to tell me some path forward for me to reobtain the horn of pure evil. I feel a real affinity to that.
All you have to do is get a wish.
Yeah, okay.
A wish would allow you to. I'm not going to tell you how to word it, but a wish would allow you to still have the horn.
Well, I know how to word it. All magic horns in all realms, planes, times, and existence shall be restored to their full essence and being, and be brought to me at this time and place for my unquestioning ownership.
That would not happen.
As a wish.
That would be violating. That would
You know
be
what? I
violating.
would let that happen and like, okay, you have died under the weight of the horns.
Fair enough.
He just comes
Fair
crashing
enough.
down, and every one of them makes like a clown horn noise as they impact on Justin's head and shoulders.
I mean, there's a certain point where it's like, look, yeah, I was half laughing.
Or I would make a list of like 500 horns, but 100 of them are cursed, and you'd have all 100 curses.
I'm okay with that.
But
Do you know my character? Al gives no fucks,
here's the thing.
Bundy.
Here's something I don't know if you guys ever do out there. I have the bad guys often have wish protections, as in if it's like a high level character and I'm determining what magic items they have, and if they ever roll up a wish ring, they may have used 2 or 3 wishes prior to you meeting them.
No, I mean that's what I don't like. Talk about games is if there's magic items and the opponents aren't using them, or something like that. It never makes sense.
Oh,
It's like there's a reason that. That's
All right,
why
that's
I
why you
was,
got to roll up the
the
treasure
thing
first.
I really fucking
and-
hate is like more worse in video games, but like any kind of game mechanic where like the character you're fighting obviously has a piece of equipment, and then it's not the piece of equipment you loot off their body.
oh, yeah. It's like, well, wait a minute. Where did that item go? Yeah. No.
Why did it immediately?
yeah,
but no,
Why did his sword of undying flame immediately morph into the toothpick of ice?
It was, well. Here's I was
I've
playing
never
one game
done
and
that.
I'm being
the,
absurdist with that example, but
the well,
Right.
not as much as you think you
yeah,
are.
I know.
But he wanted to
True.
treat it like a loot box. I'm like, no, I'm not treating this like a loot box. And he said because I
Yeah.
want the treasure to feel somewhat organic.
Right.
If I
That's one
roll
of my
stuff up,
biggest
yeah,
pet
You want a
peeves is
loot
the
box?
DM ruling
There's a
the
box
treasure.
right over there with loot in it.
Right, but you should know what's in it before they open it.
No, I'm just saying,
that's
like, there's a difference between the guy you killed and are picking the stuff up off of him that you've observed through fighting him, and some
Yeah.
random chest. Like, if you don't figure out what's in the
I know.
random
That's what we
chest,
were saying.
like,
That's what we're saying. Is the problem is that if I roll up magic items, then I'm going to put them either on them or I'm going to put on like a dead character on the ground or something like that, depending on what's in there. But I'm not just going to say, well, you beat these monsters. Now let's roll up to see what they have as you're playing.
You
I understand. It's like no, it doesn't feel. You know, yeah,
it's
that's a waste of everybody's time. If you, as a GM, cannot be bothered to do that minimal prep,
it's
you
not
know,
about a prep. What he didn't. If he wasn't talking about a prep, he liked it because he liked the excitement of a loot box.
yeah,
That's my
the
point.
randomness.
so
Of,
that's even more puerile and
it
immature
very much is.
than,
It's
what
not
I'm
the
saying.
same as like I had those cultists the other day who had the random effect when they died. You know,
Now,
Right.
I
That's
will
different.
caveat that with, you know, I suppose every once in a while, if it is literally a treasure chest, maybe rolling that up every once in a while isn't such a horrible thing. But whatever the NPCs have, the monsters, etc., you should know that better than they do and how they can use it on the party to maybe even teach the party if they defeat so and so and they take his things that hey remember how he used to do this with that sword or that item. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try using that same thing. Why not teach him a little thing here or there?
like
you
how
Yeah,
know
to
but
use
but
it.
but, but
Be
again,
careful
what he
that
wanted was
really
he
bite
wanted
you
the
in the ass.
excitement of when he killed it. He didn't know what was in there, and it was rolled randomly, and so he could roll it. And they can probably like, oh wow, I found this cool. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And he was like, but it's no, I'm
Yeah.
not
Tell you
doing
what, you
that.
roll that up. I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
No. My whole point is
You know,
if I'm running the adventure, that's not the way I'm running the
Yeah,
adventure.
good for you.
It's like look, I like to because some of it comes down to if I find a cool magic item, I'm going to start putting like a story with it, or I'm going to start putting things in there. I'm going to start putting in hints. There should be more to it than just saying. And this is the one part I didn't like about D&D was, oh look, it's another +1 sword. Let's just throw it up behind ourselves. And this is why I said it's
Throw it in the
not that
pile
I
and
don't.
immediately sell it, kind of thing. Sure, that's why I like if you notice you guys didn't find a lot of +1 things. I find that it would no self-respecting magic user would just make a simple +1 sword or make 20 of
well,
them. He might
like
throw some better stuff in there because it doesn't take that much. It's not that much effort to
I
add
could
more to
see
it.
like you're the apprentice learning how to make swords, and you're just like, okay, today's training is make a sword.
Sure. Except that you got to be like 12 level to even begin to do that, so you're not an apprentice because you can't do that at first
Yes,
through
but like
11th level.
you're learning the new thing.
The other
So
thing is, believe it or not, depending on which rules you use, you'd actually have to go out of your way to make something less than your full potential. Like
That's
say
poorly
you want to
written
make
rules.
a sword. If you were making a magic sword, you could just as easily make it +3, but you choose to make it +1. Why would you ever do that?
well, again, this is
Like I
where
said,
that's
poorly
what I liked
written
about
rules.
well, this is what I liked
Hey,
Axe, which was, guess what? There's a reason you make that lower level sword. Usually, it has to do with time, and then the other part is getting components, and then how
well,
much
look
money
look
you
at
can
the
get there.
process, Omen. You're basically you're casting enchant item, enchanted weapon, and then
Honestly.
permanency.
Yes, no, I understand what you're saying there. I'm not referring to that. I'm saying, but like under Axe,
Mhm.
is usually it's a resource issue for a certain part, or how fast can I do it to get money. And again, you also get experience points for making magical items. But yeah, it's
which
I'm not
you know,
disagreeing if you only have one or two. If you can only
if
have time to make one or two magic items, then yeah, why are you going to half-ass it? But if you have kind of like the old in we can craft multiple items. I understand why you're doing the lower level items because you can get those out faster to make more money so that you can get other stuff. The other thing is, can I get all the components I would need for it? That's the other part too. So plus the way that they do it is
Yeah.
you roll on it, and the worse you do, the more likely it is to fail. So it's like, well, do I want a +3 sword, which
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
10 times as likely to fail
Because
as a +1?
you have to sacrifice the
Yeah.
super hot, like 10 on a scale, 18-year-old virgin to get the +3
oh,
sword. But any old baby will do for the +1.
see, that's the other thing is we were talking about it. A +1 is only a 5% chance, better than a +2 or than a regular sword in all its ability, other than if it glows when you take it out at night.
Yeah.
Okay, that's dumb.
Well, it's not just that. It's the other part is that it's a magical weapon.
Yeah.
And it can hit creatures that are only hit by magical weapons.
Right.
But I mean, if I can up the odds from 5% to, I don't know, 25%, I think I'm going to go with the 25%. If I'm giving it to like my bodyguard or some shit like that, I want him to bodyguard me really well. So I'm going to go, hey, dude, you asked for a +1 sword, but here's a +5. Just have my back. You know what I
Well,
And then
mean?
he immediately
I
says,
understand what you.
"Fuck
Well,
this guy!
again,
I'm going to the nearest town, selling this +5 sword, and buying a castle."
Well,
well, well, well, well. This is where it comes down to the rules of how
that's why you put
easy
a
is it to
contingency
make.
on it.
Is if it's identical, if it takes identical levels to make, then yeah, why wouldn't you do a +5? But if the requirements to make the +5 is, I don't know, 10 times or 20 times harder, then you're like,
Right.
well,
In
that's
Axe,
not worth it.
it was a little.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that it makes a little bit more sense. But in good old AD&D, even 2E, the rules were relatively the same in the process to do so. You cast enchant item, you pump in whatever spells you want, and then maybe you permanency one or more of those spells. I memorize all these spells for the day. Yeah, I'm going to throw a couple of fireballs in there for the guy, just as a little bonus. Oh, by the way, it's got 3 fireballs in it. Use them sparingly.
Well,
Little
well,
things like that. Hell
here,
yeah!
here was my issue with a lot of it was is that, and I'm not going to disagree with you about if you can get the highest plus, that's what you can go for. That's why you have to have a scale difficulty. But the other problem I didn't like was is that you lose, or at least you had a 5% chance of losing a Constitution point.
On the
You're like, well,
permanent.
if I'm going to risk that Constitution point, then I'm sure as hell going to go as good as I can get.
Yeah.
But I did read the Tome of Magic, and they did have, they would try and get better stuff on better guidance on how to do it and things.
Yeah.
But when did that come out? That came out.
The Tome of Magic, late '80s.
No, the Tome of Magic was later than that. It was
Oh, was it
90s.
'90s?
Tome of Magic was, but again, my whole point is it came
I
out
don't know. I've
what?
got it right here
Let's see.
somewhere. Other side.
Yeah, look at the copyright.
I got it right here. '91.
So 91. So that was 14 years after,
Yeah.
the Dungeon Master's Guide. Like, it shouldn't have taken that long.
Well,
that's part of what I'm talking about. And the other part is that they, this was the Tome Magic was the first time they actually started trying to quantify it. And again, I understand why Gygax did some things, but it was like you've made it such a pain in the ass that it doesn't make it really worth it in most cases for the players to try creating their own. And
I didn't find it AD&D's Magic Item rules anything but really kind of streamlined and pretty simple.
are you
Enchant
talking about
item.
the DMG? The DMG? No. Go read the DMG
So-
about enchanting items. He made it a lot more
The
complex.
way
in there.
the way you got
But he
the
didn't tell
way
you really how to
the
do
way
it.
you got to enchant items, right, is to set up a tower somewhere and take on an apprentice and teach them how to enchant items for you. So when they lose their fucking what did you say, agility
Constitution
constitution point, right? When they lose, like, they're down to like 2 constitution points, you can tell them that they failed their training and that they go leave now, and you take on another apprentice. And when they're down to like 1 or 2 constitution points,
It doesn't work that way when you're 16th level.
shut up, Omanau.
When you're 16th or 17th level, you are like
Yeah, how do you train a zero level human to be a 18th level magic
you
user?
have your levels as the skill, but their hands and constitution points as the things like getting the penalties.
Yeah, that sounds like you're going to be
That
delving into
sounds like you're
necromancy
running a magic school.
or a necromancer.
It's
See,
called being risk
again,
averse, okay?
this is why I liked X, is you can help with the research, but you still have to be the one that does a lot of the stuff, but you can have them help you do it faster, which is always nice. But yeah, when I started looking at some of them, it's like, well, how do you
This
do
is the
that?
point: is they get the downfall, and you just like throw them away when they're like not useful anymore.
The problem is that when they're that high of a level, it's like, why would I ever do it? They're more valuable alive than losing than making magic items.
So they have a constitution of 1 or 2. Like, the point is you're
Hey,
factoring.
it's almost quitting time, so
it's
I'm going to
about
change the
20
subject real
minutes
quick.
over.
Yeah, I know. I thought Raven was going to come join us, and she didn't. So I'm going to show off 2 of the 4 prizes for the God Wars.
Yeah.
The first one, the first person to make the 10 level dungeon is getting a Dungeons and Lasers Core Fantasy dungeon creating set, because I thought how appropriate would it be for the person who makes the first 10 level dungeon
Yeah.
gets a little box so they can make their own dungeon. You can basically make setup.
Okay.
You can see it.
But
So
but
that's going to go out. Hopefully, it's not going to cost more arm and leg and shipping.
Shadow, I recommend
Um,
you do not send it out until we're done the game. That way, that player doesn't accidentally go, "Hey, look what Shadow sent me."
I was thinking about stuff like that, or I'm just gonna not. I'm gonna tell them not to do exactly what you said, and just be happy that they got the
I
prize.
already know that
Um,
Omanau is playing uh, fucking spider dragons or whatever. I
Okay.
don't know.
the
I
other
know who
prize,
you are,
since
Omanau. I know who you are.
if that was the case, I would be giving him some bad news.
That's what I'm trying to get you to do.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Uh, the one of the other items is going to be this.
Chult.
Oh, chalk. Yeah.
Book 1. It's actually serial number 978 out of 2000, and it is autographed by Vengeance
Why are you
Satanis.
getting rid of your copy of
Hopefully,
Chult, man?
because I got another copy right here
Okay.
that was actually signed to us. This one I got from one of his Kickstarters. It was like not very expensive to get the extra one, and I'm like, I need a prize or two. So book 1 of Chalt will be going out to one of you schmoes. Uh, so that's the prize for GW winning. I don't know what GW means in that. Oh, and here comes Raven. Hello,
Hi.
Raven.
Raven,
What?
are you going to win Chult?
What?
Are you going to win Chult?
Windchill. What? What is
Chult?
that?
This book is one of the prizes for the God Wars.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you.
Yeah.
and I showed the dungeon. One of the other prizes is, well, then you don't win, or you can give it to somebody else. I was actually going to, because there's going to be 3 prizes besides the dungeon, and one of those prizes is going to be
Cash.
an autograph.
Cash.
No.
No.
Um, Oh, God Wars. Okay.
Backstage pass to Def Leppard.
One of the prizes.
No.
Yeah, right. That's a
No.
lot of money. The other one of the
Like,
other prizes is going to be an autographed hardcover copy of the God Wars rules, autographed by all the people if I can get them to autograph it for
that
you.
would be
That's
nearly impossible.
well, I didn't mean you. I just meant the people in the United States.
Yeah.
So not you, Justin. No, I maybe it'll be possible if you meet them at like a Claricon or
I ain't
something
doing
like
it.
that or whatever.
Over there
Um,
said I don't go outside, so I don't.
So what? I don't.
Um, and I'm not sure what the other prize is. I'm going through my stuff, so there's three. And like, say for example, Cal, you got first place. You could take your pick of one of the items, just in case. Like for example, you have Chalt, because I kind of assume that a lot of our friends have Chalt, and if they
I know.
don't, why not? You should hurry up and go get it because it's worth owning. It's a fun read, just to see what Avengers all about, and to see how Looney Tunes he can get, but at the same time still do run a solid game.
Does he still do
Uh,
YouTube videos?
yeah, he absolutely does. He didn't decide to hang it up, and I'm really glad that he decided not to. So Raven, what's going on? We're about to shut down the show as usual, and you come barging in at the last minute. How you been?
Been okay. My phone died, and then my tablet keeps kicking me off. So I finally just got here on the laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Raven, I'm mildly disappointed. I had hopes for
Why?
you. You were starting to be the competent one.
Oh, I still am.
Getting there
I still
before
am.
me and stuff.
Yeah, man. Like,
We'll see tomorrow who gets there first on Justin's show at
Yeah, we'll see who gets there
noon
tomorrow.
o'clock
yeah,
Eastern time, I believe it is.
yeah.
It sounds like a
I want to know if Shadow actually finishes his assignment by
I didn't even write a single word toward it. I've been swamped this
2,000
week.
words
Uh,
by noon
I
o'clock
did,
tomorrow.
yeah, it's not going to happen. I do have, and I told you about my idea. I do have notes
Yeah,
written somewhere here on my
Uh,
table. I just haven't gotten the opportunity to sit and do that because I was one day behind on the God Wars report, and that took up some time to get over that. And then next thing I knew, it's almost time to do the next week. So, hey, Raven, the Battle Tech Cow. Hi there. Yeah, I would love to see Raven play some Battle Tech.
oh,
Uh,
I would too.
right.
that would have to be an in-person thing. You give her one mech and wish her the best of luck.
I don't know how to play. You'll have to teach me how to play.
It's a miniature war game where you play giant stompy robots that try to shoot and stomp other robots to death.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There's a BattleTech cartoon you could look up and get a kind of an
It's on
idea
YouTube.
about it.
It's on
But
YouTube.
yeah, it's on YouTube. And good to see you, Jose. Thanks for chatting with me the other day in my latest video. Um, I'm still disappointed that it's doing so poorly. It picked up a little, and I know it wasn't really because of the time that I posted the video, or at least I don't think it is or was. It's just get it. Not everybody's into Vampirella. That's fine, but usually even on the poorest days, I could break double digits, without working up a sweat or anything. So
Yeah.
Did I
I
have
don't
a
know.
writing assignment, Justin? What was
What?
the Was there a writing assignment?
Yeah. Pick
Okay.
two scenes. You know what a scene is?
Yeah.
From one from one TV show or movie, and another one from a different one. And then write four scenes to merge those two scenes together. So
oh well, four what?
yeah, I told you four.
Three.
It's
Huh? Wait a
total of
minute.
six. So
Oh, now you're
Okay.
so
pushing your
Okay.
luck.
so so
Start from the beginning.
so
What now?
name a movie or TV show that there's a moment you really like.
Um, all I can think about is Monty
But
Python's
like,
Holy Grail.
okay, so what scene?
Oh, probably the French taunting King Arthur.
Okay, okay, so you've got a knight of some kind or a soldier at the gates having a conversation with one at the wall, and the guy on the wall is being insulting. There's
Yeah.
your first scene. Yeah.
Okay.
And then some other movie or TV show, a different moment you like.
One moment there, Cal.
Yeah, so like the alien scene when the thing bursts out of its stomach.
Ah,
Another moment. It doesn't have to be that one, but.
okay. So so two different, either movie or
Yeah,
TV shows,
yeah. Or it could
and
be a
write
book, but
and
like
write a scene for each one.
pick a scene. Pick a scene from each one.
Okay.
Okay, so you got the guy on the wall insulting the guy on the ground scene.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Now another one.
Um, I, I gotta think. I just hmm. um, um, um
Just nothing from Dallas.
okay. Uh, okay. There's a scene in from the Mist of Avalon that I really like. She
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
What happens in it?
It's where she's on the boat
Okay,
and
okay, Jose.
she raises the veil, and then Avalon is revealed, and then she closes it behind her so that nobody can see it. It's really
Okay,
cool.
okay. So now take those two scenes and make
Hmm.
make the lead characters in each of them the same character. Just put in your own character. That's whatever, and then create four scenes that would logically connect to these two events. It's an exercise. And
Okay.
create four moments that would be in contiguously make sense to have these two events be part of the same story. Because obviously they're not the characters in those stories; they're whatever character you're. Because it's the events you want to take, not the actual moment.
So I
Don't.
create a character, and the character is the same in both.
Yeah. You can like meld those two characters into one
Oh,
if you want.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you know the difference between the events of what happened and the actual story, right? So
Hmm.
that's why I said a guy on a wall insulting a guy on the ground. Well, obviously, if you want to make the guy on the ground a female and have it the same as the one on the boat, you could do that. Doesn't
Ah,
really matter. It's just a person on the wall
okay. I
insulting
see.
a person on the ground. So
Gotcha.
someone from above insulting someone below. It doesn't even have to be a wall.
Uh-huh.
Just the same sort of contextual uh, events.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then like the veil for Avalon is could be metaphorical for like any kind of cloak of secrecy, right?
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah.
to be super literal. It's just the same kind of like sense, right? Like Shadow picked for his second scene that moment in Babylon 5 where uh, the commander Sheridan tells the shadows and the Vorlon to pound sand, but he could easily make those like some pirates or something, or like bandits in a western, or some
Yeah,
power
in
force to
this case,
lead.
they're going to be evil invading aliens to Earth or whatever.
Yeah, because
Okay.
he has no imagination. He's just going to make them exactly what they were in the original scene.
No, no, it's going to be drastically different. More of a uh,
Bigfoot.
no, no, like the Greys or something like that. Some
Yeah,
intended alien invaders who've taken over Earth and done the
yeah.
bad things and the
Oh,
the
one of my most favorite scenes in Babylon 5 is like in I think the first or second
Thanks.
season.
That's really nice of you to say.
In the first or second season, there's like some space hillbilly suing some gray because his grandfather kidnapped.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's just like a passing by scene. It's like because they occasionally have like the space court or whatever.
Did you watch that Love, Death, and Robots that I told you about?
Not yet. I re-downloaded all of them, so I'll eventually get around
The-
to.
Definitely, definitely worth watching. Life Hutch, like I said, had a special place in my heart because I remember reading that in, I think it was Erie magazine way back in the day, and they did a
Yeah.
really good job of you know recapturing that little tiny bit of magic. Um,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it is time for us to go. I'm actually going to go mow the front yard because now it will be the coolest part of the freaking day. So I'm going to go mow the front yard, and I will see everybody except Omen tomorrow morning. Omen, I will see you. Will we see you Saturday for Markboard?
Yeah, you should. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Half hour earlier than normal, like usual.
Because
Eight
we're going to
o'clock.
do it at 6 o'clock my time, so Raven can come in and go do the other thing that she does afterwards.
Yeah.
So that we have, as close to 2 solid hours of role playing as possible.
Yeah. Well, I I aim for about an hour and a half because we bullshit the other
We can always
20
do most of
minutes.
that afterward.
Yeah. Well, it's like nerf herding all of you guys onto the show.
Mhm.
Raven.
Nerve hurting. What?
And we're social. We're social creatures, and we want to say hi, and you know, not like we didn't just see everybody the day before, type of thing. But
Yeah.
uh,
Raven's never watched Star Wars. She doesn't know what a nerf herder is.
by your
Well, I
command.
do. Yeah, I do. Now that you said Star
Take
Wars,
care,
now I
Cal.
know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And Jose, seriously, one of these days you got to come on the show. Find me on Discord. You can find me through probably DM James's channel, or you just look up Shadow and Sun. Send me the friend request, and we'll get you on the show. Because why
Yeah.
not? Right? You too, Cal. You're always here. You want to come and hang out? Just say the word, dude.
You're on his Discord. You know where the Discord channel is. The live stream channel is. Party on.
4:30. I will try also for Sunday as well. I was there 4:30 last week, so I'll try to do that as well on Sunday. So everybody out there in TV land, thanks for coming in, stopping by, sticking around, playing along, and making the show a lot more fun.
Awesome.
I will see you guys real soon, and
Party on.
Bye.
Taco Bell.
Bye.